Welcome into the stream, ladies and gentlemen. It is so good to see each and every single one of you. Keep in mind, we are still hanging out on the backup account here, so please help me out by sharing this live out with a handful of friends. Just copying that link if you don't have any friends, so it still counts as a share, and double tapping on that phone screen. All these things really help out the early engagement of the live that helps send it out. You know, we could kind of treat the lives like we treat the posts on my account. So yeah, awesome. Anyways, guys, make sure that we are double tapping. If you are voting for Trump, make sure to hop in that queue for me. We are just going to be looking for a first debate of the morning, but it is once again so phenomenal to see you all for the first 500 of you guys in here. Welcome into the live. Looks like we already have a guest in the queue, so let's go ahead and load them up. What is going on, man? Are you voting for Trump?
Yeah.
All right, sir. Why are you voting for Trump? Why in the hell would you ever do such a thing?
I was just gonna ask why you said those things on like Instagram and Discord.
Oh, yeah, because I was like bigoted, and I thought that the use of slurs didn't have like negative impact, but they did. All right, and that was exposed to me after a lot of education over the course of years, and I'm very grateful for that. And I now share that same education with other people. So, anyways, why are you voting for Trump?
So do you hold this like concept of forgiveness to like other people, or is it just you? Or
okay. So no, I think if someone can hold themselves accountable, apologize, and become a better person, you can go from being racist to non-racist, absolutely. So why are you voting for Trump? Okay, well, I mean, he just left. I don't know. That's a flop. It's always a flop with those Republicans, because I'm just so open and honest about it. What a runner. Hey, what's going on, Elise? Are you voting for Trump?
Yes, I am.
Phenomenal. Vinny, thank you for the $5 on Venmo. I appreciate you for the love. Why are you voting for Trump?
I'm voting for Trump because I'm a pro-life advocate.
Okay. Why the fuck would you be that? Why would you ever be a pro-life advocate? Out of curiosity, you're pro-life because because you care about like children.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're going to go because that's all I ever hear. I'm pro-life. I'm pro-birth. I'm not pro-life. I've heard it all.
No. So you're pro-life because you care about children, right?
Yes.
Okay, how do you feel about Donald Trump hitting on a 10-year-old girl, sexualizing her, saying that he'd date her in 10 years? Would you still be voting for Trump if he walked up to you with your 10-year-old daughter and said that he'd be dating her in 10 years?
Well, he hasn't done that.
If he were to, would you still be voting for him?
Probably not.
Okay, so he said that to someone else's daughter. So seemingly, if you want to vote for him, if he said that to your daughter, you want to vote for him if he said that to someone else's, right?
Okay, you're asking why I'm voting for Trump, and I gave you my answer.
Okay, but I'm just curious. I want you to respond to this fact. You said you wouldn't vote for Trump if he said that to your daughter, so why would you vote for Trump even if he said it to someone else's?
I haven't heard that clip. I'd love to see where you saw that.
Oh, for sure. In the meantime, while I'm pulling this up, guys, make sure that we're double tapping away in that phone screen, everybody. It's so good to have each and every single one of y'all in here. Let's try to get up to 100 likes. Oh, yo! The one Democrat versus 25 Trump voters with Destiny just dropped on YouTube. I need to fucking watch that.
I don't look old enough to vote. I'm 36, but thank you for the compliment.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone, just do give us a minute. Let's go and pull it up.
You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
I didn't. Can I see the video?
No, I just have audio.
Okay, I don't understand what that context was. I would have to see like the entire thing to even
Yeah, so
know.
he was going up an escalator. A little girl was going down the other side of the escalator. He looks at her and then says that he's going to be dating her in 10 years after asking her a question. I'll go ahead and replay it.
Up the escalator? Thursday night. You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
Dating her, like it doesn't specify that he's talking about her. Who is her?
He's talking to the 10-year-old girl that he asked the question prior, right? And if he wasn't talking to the 10-year-old girl, but was rather talking to an adult, why would it be prefaced that he'd be dating her in 10 years, right? So, I mean, like, seemingly using your common sense, you would be able to reasonably conclude that he's talking to the 10-year-old girl. But, I mean, you have issues presented if you want to assume the opposite of that, just because you're dense and awful, right? That being, why did he say to be dating this random person?
In 10 years, I'm assuming that she would be an adult by then.
Oh, yeah. No, she would have been an adult. But guess what? That's him pointing at a 10-year-old girl saying that she's cute and that she can't wait to fuck her once it's legal. Do you think that's
wow.
acceptable? No,
Wow.
no. It's called the sexualization of our youth. It's called grooming, and it's absolutely gross. This is why I get so flagrantly pissed when there's people like you that call yourself a pro-life advocate, then sit here and be apologetic towards the sexualization of our youth. It's disgusting. It's deplorable.
You're not talking about my issue, though,
Okay, why are you pro-life?
because it should not be legal for a woman to abort a child
And I'm asking you why.
because they have a heartbeat and they have to stop a heartbeat to make that happen.
Okay, you have to stop a heartbeat to make the fucking chicken nuggets at McDonald's happen. So do you think that we should like ban all fast food?
Are you kidding me?
No, it's a
That's
very
your
real
argument?
question. It's a
That's
great
your
question.
argument?
It's a great
Wow.
question.
That's your argument.
And I'm waiting for a response. What are you going to do? Just sit here and go, wow, are you kidding me? Okay, quit the theatrics. Give me the response. I'm waiting.
Absolutely not. That's
Okay, why?
absurd.
Why is that
That's
absurd?
absurd.
Why?
So, the life of a chicken, that's your argument?
Oh, are you going to say that the life of the human is more valuable? Is it because of the genetic code?
Obviously.
Oh, okay. So you think it's our genetic code that makes us morally valuable. So, all right, do you think that life begins at conception? Probably genetic code is present from conception as well. So would you say that some women with IUDs are murderers? Because in some cases, it will allow for conception to occur, but then it will implantation into the uterine lining, essentially starving it to death.
No, I do not think women that have IUDs are murderers. Absolutely not.
Okay, well, I mean, you're really like shitty pro-life advocate because what's the relevant distinction between an IUD killing the life of a conceived zygote and an abortion killing the life of a fetus? And Lita, thank you for the $5 on Venmo.
I would way rather talk about the issue at hand. You keep diverting the whole conversation.
No, it's called testing your logical consistency. You're sitting here, you're telling me that it is murder to end the life of a fetus. Life begins at the moment of conception. It's a morally valuable baby after conception occurs. As an IUD can and does kill those conceived zygotes, just like an abortion can kill a fetus. The reason why this is relevant and pertinent to stand on and discuss, right, is because it shows how your logic is absurd insofar as you don't hold to it in all applicable scenarios. But feel free to tell me why you don't think that women with IUDs are murderers and how that is relevantly different from a woman getting an abortion at Planned Parenthood by telling me why you value the life of the fetus but not the life of the conceived zygote at conception. When do you start to value the life? Because 5 seconds ago you told me it was all about the unique human life and genetic code, yet we're sitting here right now and you're telling me that you don't value a unique human life with its own human genetic code at conception. So please qualm these indiscrepancies.
That is absurd to try to divert the conversation to IUDs.
So then tell me the difference. Tell me the difference between an IUD killing a conceived zygote and an abortion killing a fetus. What's it about? What's the difference?
Not the same thing.
So what's the difference? Both of them are killing a unique human life, right? Can you at least acknowledge that?
No, I'd like to acknowledge the 1 million abortions and
So,
that
hey, man, with all due respect,
1,000 of them-
affirm or deny the following fact.
400,000 Okay, let me talk.
No, I'm actually not going to let you talk because you're diverting.
400,000
5,
abortions.
4, 3, thank you. So affirm or deny the following fact. There is a unique human life present at the moment of conception.
Yes.
Affirm or deny the following fact. Killing an innocent, unique human life is always murder.
Okay, sure. Let's just say,
Okay.
Right.
Affirm or deny the following fact. Sometimes an IUD will kill an innocent, unique human life by preventing its implantation into the uterine lining, starving the conceived zygote to death.
Okay, well, if it's not in the uterine lining, then it's not there.
Okay, so it's not valuable if it's not in the uterine lining. Why? Kellen, thank you for the glowing jellyfish. Because now you're saying that it's not murder to kill all innocent human lives.
Okay. So
No response. No response. That's because you don't use your brain. That's because you don't use your brain. Kenna, thank you for the $5 on
of
Venmo.
abortions, the woman
I'm
claims.
not here to let you pivot. No, you're either going to respond to this or I'm going to kick you. It's very fucking simple.
Okay, let's go with what you're saying so we can move on.
So go ahead and respond. I'm waiting.
It's not in the uterus.
Okay, and it's a unique human life, you sicko.
It's not in the uterus, so therefore it's not going to keep developing.
Oh, well, I mean, if you could just make an arbitrary distinction insofar as what unique human life is and isn't valuable, so you could say it's not implanted into the uterus, and out of virtue of that fact, you don't value it. Well, I mean, I could just say, well, prior to 20 through 24 weeks, it doesn't have the ability to deploy sentience, thereby I don't value it. Right? Because now you're placing qualifiers on what human life you find to be valuable and what human life you don't find to be valuable. And there's actually no difference between you and me. You're saying that no, human life has no intrinsic value. It is not always murder to kill innocent human life. And it first has to meet your qualifiers of being implanted into the uterine lining. So why should we trust and respect and uphold your qualifiers that human life is only valuable in the condition that it's implanted into the uterine lining, but not respect my qualifiers that human life is only valuable in the condition that it has the ability to deploy sentience?
Yeah, you're not gonna discuss the 1 million abortions that Planned Parenthood has on their website.
Kenneth,
with
thank you so much for the Venmo.
40% of those. I'm just trying to get to another issue where I don't feel like it is a Democrat Republican issue. It's like it should be a bipartisan issue. What I would like to talk about.
Okay, well,
So,
see, the thing is I think that all elective lethal abortions before about 20 weeks are absolutely fine, morally permissible. There's no moral value attributed to the life of that fetus, and that's because it doesn't have the ability to deploy sentience. What I'm testing is your logical consistency, right? You were saying that women with IUDs are not murderers, but you still have yet to tell me the difference between an IUD killing a conceived zygote and an abortion killing a fetus. Like, at
Because
least you haven't put a fucking second of goddamn thought into this. And the reason why I'm so sassy and upset about it is because your harmful, bigoted beliefs that you just come to knowing with no prior information have caused 60 women, right, that have gotten raped and gotten pregnant as a result to be denied abortion every single day since Roe v. Wade was overturned by people thinking just like you. Like, should I really care about treating you with respect and decency when you don't have the ability to logically explain your thought processes insofar as why you support, right, Trump overturning Roe v. Wade when it kills women, when it leads to rape victims not having access to healthcare? 60 women every single day? Should I?
60 women every single day?
Yes, 65,000 women that have gotten raped and gotten pregnant as a result have been denied access to abortion in the last 3 years, right? Per year, that is about 22,000 women per day. That is 60 women.
Are you going to let me talk? Because you
I've been
just keep
quiet.
interrupting. And yes, I do think that you should treat people with respect. Yes, I do. Absolutely. I'm treating you with respect. 40% of women that have had an abortions last year claim financial burden as the number one reason that they get that. And I am sympathetic towards them. Times are really, really, really hard. Like, I'm not dismissing their case that it is hard. I get that. But what I want to see from both sides, Democrat and Republican, like, more support for those women that feel like that's their only option when we have billions of dollars to send to other countries. Why can't we, support the women that claim 40%?
Amanda, thank you so much for the $25 on PayPal. I really appreciate you for the love. Let's get some W's in the chat for Amanda. I really appreciate that. She can't even think. Like, I'm so sorry. You just can't even think about my point.
No, I mean, you keep interrupting whenever I'm talking, and then you're not answering anything that I'm saying.
Yeah, you're saying that a disproportionate amount of women get abortions because of financial related issues. Well, I mean, yeah, maybe we should vote for Kamala Harris because she wants to increase the child tax credit, reducing childhood poverty, and cut taxes for 100 million American workers in the low and the middle class, aka the women that are getting abortions for these reasons, insofar as reducing income inequities and making them better off. Kristen, thank you so much for the $20 on Venmo. I really appreciate you for the love. Let's get some W's in the chat for Christian. I really do appreciate you for that. Massive W's down below. That is so incredibly kind of you. Thank you. Okay, but now that I've responded to that point, respond to mine. Okay? right? So would you say that it's murder to kill a human after conception? An innocent human
Yes.
after conception?
Yes.
Okay, then you think that women with IUDs are murderers because IUDs kill innocent humans after
We've
conception.
already been through this.
No, you
They
haven't.
don't enter the uterus.
They are in the uterus. They haven't implanted into the uterine lining, but that doesn't matter because it's after conception. And you literally just fucking agreed and said that it is murder to kill an innocent human after conception. That is exactly what an IUD does.
You're going right back to what we've already discussed.
Hey, explain yourself, please, because you're not giving me an answer. Did you or did you not just say that it is murder to kill an innocent human after conception? Could you clarify your answer to that question one more time?
I've already said yes.
Okay,
I'm
then
getting off 'cause you're not answering
no.
anything I'm saying. You
Okay,
don't
so
wanna talk
if you,
about it.
I literally responded directly to your point. You brought up that 40% of women who get abortions do it for financially related issues, and then I give you a response insofar as why we should vote for Harris to reduce the burden placed on those women, right, through uplifting the low and the middle class. You said that it is murder to kill, right, a human after the moment of conception. You affirm that as a fact, okay? An IUD can and does kill innocent humans after conception. So if it is the case that both of those things are true, the logical conclusion would be nothing more than the simple fact that IUDs murder kids. So do you affirm or deny that conclusion?
I'm just baffled that that's what you're talking about.
Okay, so leave. Bye. You could leave. I'm not here to talk to like ignorant voters that actively vote for legislation that harm people. But when you are engaged in a conversation with someone that is just trying to get you to have like the first conscious thought of like your 36-year life, right? And at least critically think to a very low degree about what you stand behind and how it actively perpetuates harm. And then your automatic response is to be like, no,
Perpetuates
why are we
harm.
talking about that? Like, okay,
Perpetuates
leave.
harm.
Leave, like,
Perpetuates
leave. Like,
harm.
I like that is just so absolutely absurd and
Yeah,
insane.
I will never vote for someone who thinks it's okay to abort a baby.
Okay, like,
because it's
bye.
because
No,
it's
I'm telling you, leave. If you're not going to
Because it's
engage in a conversation,
inconvenient.
hey, if you're not going to engage in a conversation with someone on the other side of the aisle, fucking leave. This is not the
You're
place
not
for you.
engaging in the conversation.
Tell
So
me
I
one
will-
point that you've
will
made that I
leave.
haven't responded to.
I will leave. Thank you.
I'm absolutely
Goodbye.
engaging in the conversation with you. I'm asking you to name the point that I haven't responded to because you won't, because you know that I've engaged with him. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Like, Chad, that is the type of voter that like actually does cause me anger, actually does piss me off. And I'm like so absolutely fine with the fact that it pisses me off. In fact, it should piss me off and it should piss everyone else in here off, because when you stand behind things that like kill people, that cause rape victims to not be able to have access to healthcare, like 60 women a day, and then you just sit here and you don't care about any perspective that isn't your own and you actively try to not engage with him, you should get pissed. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and hit a restart on the stream. I do think that we have a following glitch. ELUMAR, thank you for the $25 on PayPal. You were phenomenal. Everyone show some love to ELUMAR. As soon as we get back in here from the restart, I will see you all in 10 all right. What is up, Mango? What is going on, Raven, Kaylee, Indio? What is up, LDR? What is up, Gia and Valerie? We're honestly just gonna go ahead and hop right back into the debates. That last one, like rightfully made me upset. But let's go ahead and see what our next debate is. So everyone, just do give us a minute. What's up? Are you voting for Trump?
Yes, I am.
All right. How old are you?
I'm 19.
19. And why are you voting for Trump?
Well, before we keep going, you think Trump's a racist, don't you, right?
I do think Trump is a racist. Yes.
And when's the last time you said something racist?
Trump?
Yes.
Oh, just the other day when he was saying that Kamala Harris, quote unquote, turned black, or that like the Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio, are both illegal and eating our pets.
So that was weeks ago, right?
A handful, yeah.
Yeah, so you don't think he changed?
Has he apologized or held himself accountable? No. Of course I don't think he's changed.
Okay, well, so you don't think he can change?
No, I think that everyone's capable of change. Do I think that practically speaking Trump will? No.
Okay, but how are you going to make that justification when you said
Because he hasn't held
yourself-
himself accountable or apologized.
Okay, but how are you going to say that when you just said before that you were racist in your past, you said the N-word, and then suddenly one night you stayed up for hours and talked to black girls and they changed your opinion on it, but you were racist. So I'm not even going to lie. I only came up here to say that because I don't even care, Trump or Kamala, but you are racist. So you can't say I don't care if you don't think Trump can change, then you can't change either. If you were racist, you're not going to suddenly change with that fake ass story that everyone knows is fake. That you said you changed when
I can't wait till you when you finish what you're saying, and then you just leave without me being able to respond.
Hold on. I don't care. Shut up.
Okay, because this is what you're gonna do.
All you do. Listen. All you do.
I'll let you finish. I'll give you as much time as you want to speak. I just want to preface for everyone watching. What he's gonna do is he's gonna do this like his speech from the podium, and then as soon as he's done, he's just gonna leave. He won't let me respond to him or anything. So go ahead. You could finish doing whatever you want to say. We're all waiting for you to finish and then leave, so you don't have to stand the test of my response. But please go ahead and finish.
Okay, so I don't know how you can say that someone else can't change, but for some reason now you made up this whole story that you stayed up for hours talking to a black female saying that that she convinced you not to be racist and stop being racist, which that was just a complete lie. That's all.
All right, so that's all you have to say. Well, now I'm going to respond. I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't leave. Do I think that you'll probably leave and run away? Sure, I do. But yeah, no, I'll go ahead and respond nonetheless. So yeah, here's the difference between me and Trump. So see, what I've done is you have used slurs in my past at younger ages. That is 110% true. Through exposure to education, what happened is my perspective on the world around me completely shift. Right, I learned that the use of those slurs is unacceptable in all scenarios, and then I applied that not only within my day-to-day behaviors, but also my character as well. And I now come on live to share that same education with other people. And it's really funny that the only people saying that I'm still racist today are white men voting for Trump. But none the fucking less, the difference between me and Trump is that Trump not only has a history of racism, but current day racism, and he's been unapologetic about it and has never held himself accountable. And every time he's been pressed on related issues, he's either denied, or justified. I would give your argument credence, and I would say that you've made a good point and I have lost if you could give me one single scenario of Trump apologizing or holding himself accountable for any of the racist things he's ever done, such as denying housing opportunity to black people in the 70s, calling all black people lazy in the 90s, saying that Kamala Harris turned black, calling for the death penalty for the exonerated Central Park Five 10 years after they were exonerated, saying that Obama was born in Kenya when he was born in Hawaii just because of his race, instantiating the idea that he shouldn't have the opportunity to run for president, saying that migrants are poisoning the blood of our country, saying that the Haitian legal migrants in our country are here illegally and eating our pets, causing a surge of hate crimes against them, with J.D. Vance admitting that it was made up, and now their whole campaign is being sued by a Haitian nonprofit in Springfield. Give me one example of him apologizing or holding himself accountable, and you will win this argument. You will win the debate, you will take the W, and I will take the L. So please, go ahead, take it away. Give me that source.
Well, I actually don't care whether Trump is racist or not. I'm talking more about you because you're very hypocritical. And
I've told you how it's not hypocritical.
Okay,
it would only be hypocritical
talking-
if he apologized, held himself accountable, and changed his ways. If Trump did that, I would be a damn hypocrite by calling him a racist.
Okay, so how are you on this platform spreading your ideas? I think you've made one video about it because someone called you out. Did you come out? Did you say before that I used to be racist? No, someone had to call you out for you to say that.
Oh, no, that's not true. You could go on my Discord and scroll up in my announcements from 10 months ago. This has been something that I've actively talked about. You just haven't been here for it, so you haven't seen it. So it's absolutely hilarious that you'd make such a false claim that could be so easily debunked by an announcement in my Discord 10 months ago. That's insane to me.
Okay, well, also your chat is you guys need to listen more because he just mutes people and talks over them and talks fast, thinking he's making a point.
Oh, so the racism is just a talking point to you.
Both Charlie Kirk.
So I just want to clarify. So racism is just a talking point to you because as soon as you lose on, so I just want to clarify. So racism is just nothing more than a talking point to you. You don't actually care. You're not actively here advocating for me to be better, to run a better platform, or to hold me accountable. It's nothing more than a mere talking point that you want to use to create false manufactured outrage. Then as soon as I explain to you how it's not the case that I'm engaging in hypocritical behaviors when I call out Trump's racism day by day because he hasn't apologized, held himself himself accountable and engage in better behaviors, that you just then start complaining to me like I'm your goddamn therapist. I'm going to charge you $250 by the hour, and it can be billed to my secretary if you just want to sit here, whine, cope, and cry. But it's completely up to you. And by the way, you said that Charlie Kirk dunked on me. So Charlie Kirk actually said that I gave him the best point that he's ever heard, right? And then on the George Janko's podcast, he said that I was incredibly intelligent, right? And that I was intellectually honest, and that it is the case that he thinks I'll be more like him in the future because of how honest I am. But are you a fan of Charlie Kirk by chance?
No, I don't really care. I just know that he beat you. And saying someone is smart doesn't mean that.
Well, I'd like to clarify that Charlie Kirk actually also said on the George Janko's podcast that both the Republicans and the Democrats alike that are like canceling me, right, for my past use of slurs are doing so in a very foul manner, and he doesn't think it's justified. So it's just really funny that you're gonna sit up here, right, appeal to Charlie Kirk when even Charlie Kirk disagrees with you.
I really actually don't care. I was just making that point. And saying that racism is only a point that I was making. Is racism is a big thing. And you also said that I'm white when I'm actually not. I'm mixed. My dad is black. So I don't even know what you're saying. But
okay, well, I apologize for assuming that you're white, but at the end of the day, you could prove your point and you could call me a hypocrite if you could give me an instance of Trump holding himself accountable, apologizing for his racism, and pushing to be a better person. If Trump has done those three things and I were to still be calling him a racist, your argument would be valid. I would be engaging in hypocritical behaviors, and following that logic, it would be justified for you to call me a racist as well. But the whole reason why I call Trump a racist, all right, is predicated on the fact that he has engaged in racism historically, and it's also the case that he has not held himself accountable or apologized or changed his behaviors. And it's for those four reasons, all in conjunction with one another, that I call Trump a racist today. Can you acknowledge that argument? Because seemingly every single time I've had someone like you come up here and try to make the argument that if he's racist, so am I, you fail to acknowledge that point. So please acknowledge that point. Can you please acknowledge the fact that the reason he's racist and I'm not is because I've done the work and he hasn't?
okay, sure, but you said you came on the platform because, and you're saying on this platform that you've done things in the past, but you didn't start by saying that. You've done it because you didn't want to get canceled. You didn't want people finding that out and then canceling you for it. You didn't start this platform to say, oh, I did these things. Come support me. I'm still debating. I'm still a Democrat. No, you didn't start the platform from that. So
I mean, yes, no, it literally fucking did. You could re-reference not only an announcement on my Discord, but you could talk to anybody that's been watching my stream for over a year. It's something that I've talked about quite frequently. So, I mean, you're just lying. You're wrong. I mean, it sucks that I actually have provable, right, announcements on Discord, provable interactions with my viewer base on my live where I've talked about these things for so long, right? No, you're just trying to create manufactured outrage from the right because I am a threat to you and a threat to your worldview. I'm getting people to wake the fuck up through education. So all you want to do now is try to shit on that as much as possible and diminish the value of the words that I say on the basis of a fundamentally deluded worldview. And that's the truth, man. That's the truth.
It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I'm not talking about, you said from both sides. I'm just talking about you. So,
yeah, so I mean, you're wrong. This is something I'm talking about.
Why would you have a fan base and a Discord server if you just said that you actually did start it from talking about your past? You did start this whole thing, your whole
the whole platform is started by educating other people, and I've always been open to talking about my past since I started my platform.
Okay, but that wasn't since you started it, because now you're switching up your words.
I'm not switching up my words. You're just being confused.
Okay, and you're kind of like an idiot. Did it hurt when they chopped off your dick?
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's just none of these things fucking matter to me. This is just you being pressed because I'm outsmarting you. I don't care. You know what I mean? Question. I have a question. I have a question. How many branches of government are there?
3.
Okay, name them.
The legislature, the judicial, and the fucking president.
And no, the president, it's called the executive branch. Who's the idiot? Is it you or me? I think it's you.
Who's the 19-year-old debating the person that I'm not going to say my real age?
Oh, okay. Are you a kid?
I don't know. Am I?
You are. You have a lot of work to do, buddy. Don't worry, you'll grow up one day.
Shut the fuck
We're
up.
going to go ahead and move on to our next guest. Let's go ahead and see what our next guest has to say. Well, let's go ahead and see what our next guest has to say, y'all. For the 3.1 thousand people in here, guys, make sure that we're double tapping away on that phone screen. What's going on, Alex? Are you voting for Trump?
Yes, I am.
Phenomenal. And why is that?
I just can't believe that anyone would be voting for Kamala. She gives me such a terrible feeling.
Are you trolling?
No, I'm just being so for real. I just
No, you're
scares
trolling.
me. No, I'm not.
Okay, so yeah, Trump, the 34 count felon, fascist dictator on day one, racist rapist that is like sexualized little kids, raped a woman, boasted about grabbing women by the P word, and told Howard Stern that he enjoys looking at half naked teenage girls in the changing rooms at Miss Teen USA. That
Oh my
is
God,
acceptable.
you're giving me a headache.
Okay, I mean, yes, intelligence typically does give like dumb people headaches. She left. Joanna, thank you for the ad arts. If you do want to support me, my Venmo as well as my PayPal are in my bio. We're going to move on to our next guest, Clay, at this point. For the 3.8 thousand people hanging out with us in here today, I appreciate y'all for being here. Dude, we are just dancing on these Republicans all day long. If you enjoy watching, right, like the views of the right get dismantled, because it's all too often that the right is just like shitting on the left with like, it's just assholish rhetoric. And like, you know, this is a good life to be in, because we dismantle all of that shit. Hello, Justice. Are you voting for Trump?
Hi, no, actually, I'm not.
Base. Justice, I love you. You're phenomenal. I do apologize for kicking you out, and we all do love you here. And in fact, I feel really bad for kicking you out. So everyone, please show Justice some love in the comment section. We are just looking for Trump supporters to talk to, but everyone, please show Justice some love. Hello, Justin. Do you mind disconnecting the Bluetooth on your phone so we're going through the mic on your phone instead of your car?
Yeah, my bad. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Do you happen to be driving by chance, or are you like stood still?
Nah, I'm stood still.
All right. Lily, thank you for the $5 on Venmo. I appreciate that. So why are you voting for Trump?
Because he doesn't use the N-word.
Okay, well, he actually did. That's crazy, right? So he
You
did.
use the N-word. Didn't you use the N-word?
I did use the N-word, and so did Trump. He said it on The Apprentice, yeah.
No, he didn't.
Oh, dude, literally
Show
look
me.
it up.
Where did he say it?
Yeah, sure. Type in Trump N-word. You'll literally have like 10 pages of search
I
results.
think you said it more than Trump.
Ying, thank you so much for the $5 on PayPal. So
I think you said it more. I think you said it more times than Trump said it.
Do you think I'm racist?
I do.
Do you think Trump's racist?
I think he's less racist than you are.
Okay, so you think that? So do you think that he's racist at all?
I think he's less racist than you are.
Okay, so you do think Trump's racist. So yeah, I would love for you to explain me something. So Donald Trump has denied housing applications to black people because of their race in the 70s. The DOJ and the state.
Didn't he get an award? Didn't he get an award from the black?
So if you'll let me finish, in the 70s, Donald Trump was taken to civil court for denying housing applications to black people because of their race. In 1991, he called all black people lazy, and then in 1997, he affirmed that is something that he did say. In the early 2000s until 2014, he called for the death penalty for a young group of black and Latino men and boys, specifically because of their race, even after they were exonerated by the criminal court in the state of New York. Right? He also said that migrants were poisoning the blood of our country, pulling a line straight out of the Mein Kampf. Right? He said that the Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio, were there illegally, even though they were there legally, and said they're eating cats and dogs, and is now being sued by Haitian nonprofit for hate crimes, right, as well as racism. Right? It's also the case that its policies furthered to increase racial income inequities. He also decreased funding to historically black universities in comparison to Obama's term and Biden's term. Right? And then he also said that Kamala Harris isn't black, term black, implying that she wasn't black prior, among many other things. So it's like when you compare that to like me, right, using slurs at a younger age, then holding myself accountable, being educated by those around me, and becoming a better person now, sharing that same education. Right, I know that you're just like obviously engaging in like a butt hurt manufactured outrage from the right, and I'm just gonna give you two options here. Right, like feel free to either just ignore everything I just said and go straight into your reasons why you're voting for Trump, or feel free to respond, get dunked on in front of 4.5 thousand people, and make an absolute fucking fool of yourself. But I just want to let you know, you totally have the out of just ignoring every single thing I just said and just telling me why you're voting for Trump. I'm totally giving you that out.
My microphone off. What the fuck is going on?
It's back on now, Justin. Don't worry.
Oh, you muted me?
Yeah, because you interrupted me. That's what I do. Yeah.
You interrupted me.
Okay, I didn't. I don't care. Go ahead and respond. Ashana, thank you for the blooming.
You just had a whole 3-minute ramble.
No, I did.
And you skipped in your timeline where you said you was gonna say how he won the award. You never went over that.
What kind of award did he win?
You're educated. You're not gonna say it. You're not gonna say it. You said you were gonna. You said that's how I interrupted you. So you're not gonna give the information of how he won an award by the black community?
Yeah, what award did he win by a black community?
So you're saying it never happened?
No, I'm just asking you for more information.
No. Did it ever happen? Yes or no?
I don't know. You're gonna have to tell me more.
So now you're gonna play ignorance.
Okay, so you just assume because I don't know something that thereby I'm like
You just said
joking
no.
and
You didn't
defending
say you don't
ignorance?
know. You just want me to answer.
Okay, so I'm gonna one moment. Let me speak. So honestly, I really appreciate you here. Like you just assume that I'm like the most intelligent man that's ever walked this planet, and it's very kind, right? Like so when I don't know like anything, right? I'm like actually just plain ignorance, and I actually do know. Like honestly, you're just assuming like I'm very fucking intelligent and knowledgeable, and for that I appreciate you. But he left. Let's go and get our next guest up in here. Y'all, so everyone just do give us a minute. Dude, I'm telling you, like that's just an indefensible position by the Republicans. The manufactured outrage, it looks so terrible. And then, hey, Purdy, thank you for the $50 on Venmo. Everybody show Purdy some love in the comment section. It's good to see you today. Let's get at least 500 W Purdys down below. I really appreciate you for the love. What is up, Salim? Are you voting for Trump?
I don't know yet.
Okay, well, I remember you. You are. Why are you acting like you're an undecided voter? You are voting for Trump.
I'm Yemenis, brother.
Oh,
So
all right, phenomenal.
whoever's gonna help out my country, I'll vote for him. Or vote for her.
I mean, like, so I just want to put that out there. Salim has like come up on my lives for like many years, and he's just like a raging transphobe, homophobe. What's going on? Are you voting for Trump?
Hell yeah.
Okay, why's that?
Because I'm from a different country and I can see how other countries go into a shithole now that the Democrats. Sorry, I'm a South African actually. I'm not from here, so excuse my English. It ain't that good.
Are you an American citizen?
No, I am not, but I'm working in America, so I just.
Okay, I do appreciate you so much for coming up, man. You do have to be an American citizen to vote in America, but I do appreciate you so much for coming up. Hey, what's up? Are you voting for Trump?
You goddamn right I'm voting for Trump.
And why's that?
I'm voting for Trump because I want him to make America great again.
Okay. So
and let me tell you something, Dean. You don't know nothing about politics.
Okay, that's hilarious.
Right? So God picked Trump to be the president, and it's just a fact.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that.
Hold on.
You have more to say. Okay.
Hold on now.
I'll hold on.
Now, when the Democrats, when they tried to unalive Trump, that flag that was up there hanging from the crane, that flag folded into the shape of an angel. That's how we know that Trump is chosen by God.
Really?
That's right.
Okay, so I just that bullshit aside, I'm not really going to entertain that. I'm sorry, man. We could get into it if you want to.
All right, I know you ain't a Christian. You just a communist.
What's communism?
Communism is when you're not doing what the Constitution is supposed to be doing in this country. Okay. Tell me one time.
Wait, I just want to clarify. Do you think that like what's your favorite country outside of the U.S.?
Well, I mean, I like Russia a lot. Like what he's doing over there.
Oh, wait, so do you think that Russia's communist because they're not doing what the U.S. Constitution says?
No, I mean they're a democratic country. They follow Constitution better than we do.
No, they don't. He like kills his political opponents and gay people.
Well, let me ask you something now.
That's
when's the last time Karl Marx ever talked about the Second Amendment? When's the last time Karl Marx talked about Trump?
Karl Marx was an American, so I don't think he ever talked about the Second Amendment.
Okay, now that don't mean he can't be talking about Trump now.
He died long before Trump was born.
All right, well, you know what? I mean, communism is just being unpatriotic. That's what I'm saying, you know. Communism...
Oh, wait. If communism is just going against the Constitution, being unpatriotic, would you say that Donald Trump is a communist because he called for the termination of articles found in the Constitution?
Now, when did this happen? I don't think this ever happened.
Yeah, he tweeted this out on Truth Social. I think it was like January 21st, 2021.
Well, I know that didn't happen because I check it every day. So
no, he did. You could look it up. You could find the tweet on Truth Social.
When was this?
No, like I said, early 2021, sometime in January.
And what you say?
He said that some articles found in the Constitution should be eradicated.
That's his word for word?
Yeah. Hey, Alec, are you voting for Trump?
Yes, sir. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Okay, you're a great troll, Mag Machine. I appreciate you for coming up. I'm just holding you here while we're getting our next guest up. Alec, why are you voting for Trump?
Well, just to say first, the distinction between me talking and him talking is going to be pretty funny. Like everybody in your comment section is going to be cracking up. I'm going to be voting for him just because on lack of logic, and I'm pretty ignorant to politics. I like Trump for being like charismatic and kind of like a good salesman. His business.
Okay, Trump is not charismatic.
You don't think so?
No. Is it possible for a charismatic man to grape a woman?
No, not in that quality. I don't think so. And that's
great. Then he's not charismatic because he raped a woman.
Well, do you think people could have like charismatic tendencies but not necessarily be grouped into being charismatic?
Well, I mean, that's a question that I just asked you. So you said that he's not charismatic because he's raped a woman, and that if you grape a woman, you're not charismatic necessarily speaking. And I don't really see any charismatic tendencies in him either.
Okay. Well, would you agree that he's a decent salesperson?
Yeah.
Okay. I think if I was to sum it up and simplify, I think the reason that I'm voting for him is because I'm in sales personally, and I'd consider him to be a good salesperson. Aside from
he's a great seller. He's probably like one of the best salesmen alive.
Yeah,
he's been able to sell. He's been able to sell half of our country on some of the biggest lies in American history.
Yeah, okay, well, you got me there.
But that's not like a good thing. Like, would you vote for like one of like the salesmen from your local used car dealership? No, you wouldn't, right?
Probably not.
Why would you vote for Trump?
Well, I think he's definitely a rarity in the American economy. Like, not everybody can say they've amassed billions of dollars worth of wealth or managed the assets that he's managed before.
Okay, well, I mean, if you got the same endowment that he got from his father of $412 million and you invested it into an index fund such as the S&P 500, you'd be worth more today than Trump is. He's like literally performed worse in his business career and endeavors than like an index fund in the stock market.
Yeah, do you think that's like guaranteed? Well, that's a good point. I definitely didn't get the $412 million, but I'm a decent salesperson myself. I articulate very well, but I'm just kind of...
So I just want to clarify. It's like, do you like know any of his policies that you like that make you want to vote for him? Because like right now I'm a little bit confused on what your motivations are.
The closing the border thing I kind of like.
Okay, well, I mean, Trump opened it, right? Because he torpedoed a bipartisan border bill in the House and the Senate 2 years ago, right? Only because it would have ended the crisis and it would have made the Democrats look good. So he's like allowing and causing the crisis to continue so he can like continue to like platform himself on ending it, when in all reality, he was one of the most ineffective leaders for the border in recent American history. No legislation that he passed through Congress was effective, and we only saw numbers increasing until Title 42 was implemented because of COVID, and that would have happened under any president.
Okay. I'm definitely under leveraged whenever I'm arguing with you on like his policy fact. I'm very ignorant whenever it comes to politics itself. I look at him and see what I see on TV, YouTube, Charlie Kirk talking, the debates that you've done like with college kids and stuff like that. I've seen certain things that have been mentioned, and I lean just more towards Trump. That's the reason that I'm voting. And I have
a question. Would you ever vote? You're giving me any reasons. I'm not gonna lie, man. You're just kind of sitting here saying like, Trump. Just out of curiosity, would you ever vote for someone held civilly liable for the violent sexual abuse of a woman?
That's a tough one. I'd love to say no. Apparently I am if I'm voting for Trump. I'm assuming that he's done that before, right?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Would you still vote for Trump if he called for a total and complete shutdown of all new Christians into our country, which is literal religious discrimination?
You might convert me here. Well, can I just ask real quick if I could? I do everything based off like a pro and con list. Do you have a cons list for Kamala? Do you have a pros list for like... Kamala? Do you have like a pro and con list for her and like point out some of her cons? Same thing with Trump. Like there's definitely a pro list that comes along with it, but his
what are the pros of Trump?
Well, just what I was mentioning about being like a salesperson.
I don't think that's a pro, right? Because that's disingenuous.
Okay, well, you got me there. But what are your pro and cons?
What are the pros of Trump? As soon as you could give me those, sure.
Well, just in my opinion, we disagree on it, but I consider it kind of a decent thing to be somewhat charismatic. Thank you for the
$5 of Venmo. So you're saying that he is somewhat charismatic, even though he's like raped a woman and sexualized kids and doesn't really care about anyone except for himself and other old rich white men. And he made that inevitably clear when he tried to say that the country, the election was stolen in 2020, even tried to steal it himself. And that's the only pros you could think of. You know, I have a lot of pros for Kamala Harris, like some of the best economic policy that we've seen in modern U.S. history. That's going to uplift the American economy, increase our GDP, and make the average American have a significantly more purchasing power than they have today, while also reducing income inequities. The reinstitution of federal protections for every American woman and girl's right to choose. Right? I mean, right now, 60 women that have gotten raped and gotten pregnant as a result are being denied access to healthcare day by day by day. 1 out of 3 women, right, in our country no longer have access to elective abortions. These are the pressing issues. These are some massive pros, right? But then, like, you're telling me like the pros of Trump, and you can't really think of any.
Not quite. Well, nothing that we'll agree on, but there's some that I do. If I go in depth on it, you could definitely challenge me, and I really don't have the information like relative to challenge you back. So
I have an idea. You just want to sit, watch the stream for a little bit, watch me talk to other people, and if you want to come back up once you have a little bit more information, you can, because like right now I don't really think that you have enough information to really have a discussion, you know?
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm kind of an easygoing guy. I'm not like a pressure guy, so
yeah.
Thanks for having me on anyway. We'll see you
dude, I appreciate you for coming up, Alec. We're going to move on to our next guest. What's up? Are you voting for Trump?
No, I'm voting for Kamala Harris, but...
You're awesome. Everyone, please show Lizzie some love in the comment section. I do appreciate you for coming up. You're phenomenal. By the way, guys, make sure we're double tapping. Let's try to get up to 400,000 likes. What's up, Ethan? Are you voting for Trump?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. So why are you voting for Trump?
A handful of reasons, really. I mean, policy overall is one thing, but then when I go into, do I think, between Trump and Kamala, do I think they could lead a country? I don't think she could, from what I've seen and everything. And I like.
So why do you think Trump would be a better leader than her?
Well, for one, he's been president before, and
but he did terrible
obviously
while he was.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say he did terrible.
I think he did. I think he did fantastically terrible. Yes, very bad. While he's president, he tried to like religiously discriminate and persecute all Muslims from coming into the country. While he was president, he called for like a termination of certain articles in the Constitution. While he was president, right, he tried to launch a coup to overthrow our government, our democracy, and rig the outcome of an election. An attempted coup to silence the voice and the vote of all American citizens. Right, while he was president, he passed tax policy that only increased income inequities and disproportionately served to rich people when it's the low and the middle class that need that purchasing power right now. Like, while he was president, he gave away national secrets to deals with Russia behind our back, right? Believed Putin's word of mouth over U.S. intelligence.
I wouldn't necessarily and I wouldn't consider myself like MAGA or anything. One thing I always say is, you know, when I look at a vote, especially in this election, it's not I don't see my vote as a Valentine. It's just a vote of, you know, who can lead this country the best. And obviously I pretty much align with why do you think you'll be able to lead better? Well, I mean, what has Kamala done to make you think that she could lead?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, like, first, right, apart from going from a lawyer in California to the VP of our country, while she did serve as VP of our country, she met in the middle of the aisle of Congress, moderated her own views, and passed some of the best bipartisan legislation we've seen in modern U.S. history. She was more effective serving as a VP than Trump was serving as the P, right? She helped influence the PACT Act, the Infrastructure Bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, the American Rescue Plan, as well as the CHIPS and Science Act. Meanwhile, like, what did Trump do? His only achievement was his tax plan that only got passed because it helped the other rich people, congressmen and women, and then served to increase income inequities. Like, you know, even just off of their efficacy in the last 8 years, like, Kamala Harris absolutely has blown him out of the water.
Okay, I mean, you'll definitely. I'm open to learning more about what she's done, especially as VP and everything, because I'm not too familiar with all the bills and everything that she's passed.
I just kind of feel like you say that he's
essentially
better because of misogyny.
I mean, obviously, No, I wouldn't say that at all. I don't mind voting for. Are you saying you're assuming I wouldn't vote for her because she's a woman? Is that it?
I think it's a lot more implicit than that. I feel like some people are very explicit with it, but with you, it's more implicit. Like, you're just kind of saying that he's better at leading than her. They're not really giving me any reasons. You know, like, yeah, I think it would implicitly probably relate back to just subconscious misogyny. I mean, feel free to prove me wrong by articulating reasons why you think he's better at leading.
Well,
you know, I'd love to give you that opportunity.
Just going back to when he was president. I mean, there were no new wars started. I mean, the economy was great. I mean, obviously those are some of the reasons that I imply there. And like I said, I know the economy wasn't great just because of him, obviously, but I mean, he definitely played a role in it. And
Okay, so how did he influence the economy to be better? And so how did he make the economy better, or how did Biden and Harris make it worse?
Well, just real quick, the other thing I'd say is, you know, I don't think she could go. I mean, he was the first president to go to North Korea and cross the border and meet with Kim Jong Un, and I don't think she
anything.
Well, I mean, the thing is I couldn't see her meeting with, you know, guys like him or Putin or anything like that.
Yeah,
and
because
I mean, there was no new wars.
There was no reason to
under
meet
Trump.
with Kim Jong Un. That just served as like a photo op for propaganda for North Korean like citizens. And then about no new wars, right? We had the Turkish-Kurdish war caused by pull out of Kurdistan, a proxy war with Russia and Syria, a Yemen genocide, and a 483% increase in drone strikes in the Middle East. Right? You also want to be able to attribute any of the global conflicts today to the Biden-Harris administration. Donald Trump is objectively more of a warmonger than Kamala Harris. So if your claim is that war is bad, then you should probably condemn Trump for wanting to continue to fund Israel to fight, win, and destroy Palestine. You should probably condemn Trump for not wanting to fight against Russian expansion, so Ukraine has to give up their land. You should probably condemn Trump for telling Israel not to accept any ceasefire agreement proposed by the Biden-Harris administration. You should probably condemn Trump for telling Israel to invade, attack, and flatten Iran, saying that he'd do it himself if they didn't, right? But of course, you're not going to really like point out or recognize any of those things.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm not going to point out or recognize them. I mean, I'm just, like I said, I'm looking for more research and everything, and I know you're like I know you're educated when it comes to this stuff, so I'm always looking for new reasons and everything. Obviously, when I look into policy, obviously, like for example, I don't think abortion should ever be allowed. So that plays a huge role in why I wouldn't vote for Kamala. It's definitely not
for the live on air. Wait, do you think that rape victims should be able to get abortion?
I mean, it's a tough question to I guess it's a tough question to ask, but my simple answer is no.
Oh,
no.
Okay, so
I mean, if I had to give one word answer.
Okay, I just out of curiosity, do you think that our government has an obligation to provide a universal basic income, free housing, free food, and free water to all homeless people in America?
I don't know. Say that one more time.
Do you think that our government should give free income, free housing, free food, and free water to everyone that is homeless or doesn't have a job in our country?
No, not necessarily.
So how come a 12-year-old girl that gets raped has more of an obligation to provide for the needy dependent fetus growing in her uterus than our government would have to provide for the needy dependent people that don't have an income, that can't pay their way to live, and if they don't have housing, food, and water will die, just like if the fetus didn't have the 12-year-old's uterus, they would die? You're saying that you're just expecting 12-year-old rape victims to be more responsible and have a more of an obligation to provide for those around them than our federal government.
No, I'm not necessarily saying I would expect her to be responsible for all that. And obviously, this is a terrible situation, but I think that is just. Yeah, I mean, when you look at expectation,
you're placing a burden on all rape victims to be responsibility to promote the life and well-being of the fetus growing in their uterus without their will, against their consent, forcefully so. That is that is a responsibility that you're placing.
Well,
on
when
them.
you look at, it's basically human rights, though. Like, I don't think. I mean, when you look at a person walking down the street, you don't know. I mean, maybe they were conceived in rape too, and they, you know what I mean? Like, you don't know the difference. Like, it's basic human rights that a person that's conceived in like a marriage or a boyfriend, a couple, whatever, however you want to go about that, and then a person that was conceived in the awful times that
Julian, thank you for the
obviously.
$20 on Venmo. I appreciate you for the love, Julian. Everybody, let's get some Julians down below. Julian says, really nice to see someone the same age as me handle these goofs so well. Keep it up. I appreciate you, man. Well, I mean, yeah, so even if we just accept the view that human rights are intrinsic, innate, and apply to all humans, including fetuses, right, that's that still doesn't explain why a victim of rape should have to maintain pregnancy, right? Because that was forced on her. Let me just ask you a very simple hypothetical question. So let's just imagine that I'm a vampire and I need human blood to live. And I walk up to you and I forcefully start sucking on your neck, pulling your blood, and I tell you, if you disconnect me from your neck any time in the next 9 months, that I will die. Would you be doing anything wrong by forcefully removing me from your neck?
I mean, I don't necessarily see how that's relevant. I mean, that's not. I mean, we're talking about vampires. I don't understand
Okay,
exactly what that like.
I don't understand.
I don't understand what that's even like. Obviously, I don't think.
Would you like me to explain it?
Well, no, I understand like the point that you're making. Like I'm just saying that.
So would you be
like,
doing anything wrong by forcefully?
No, I don't think I'm doing. No, if there's a vampire sucking blood from my neck, I don't think I'd be doing anything wrong by removing it.
Even if it killed him?
I mean, yeah, I see the point that you're getting at here, but I just don't think that's.
Yeah, I mean, the analogy here is the analogy here is that like the fetus that was conceived forcefully by grape that is growing in the uterus of a woman, right, is reliant upon their bodily resources in order to maintain their life, right? And when like a grape victim goes to Planned Parenthood and gets an abortion, all she is doing, right, is enacting upon her bodily autonomy, evicting the fetus from her womb, just like you're evicting the vampire from your neck. And then if the fetus dies as a result of that because there was a dependency on the mother's bodily resources, she'd be doing nothing wrong, just like if the vampire died, if you remove them from your neck because they're dependent upon your blood, you'd be doing nothing wrong, right? It all just has to do with the fact that that grape victim has no obligation in whatsoever, right, to provide for the means and the needs and the resources of the fetus.
Okay, so I have a question for you then. So if it's a old person that's on a ventilator, or if it's somebody that's been in a wreck that is on life support, would you say that? Are you doing something wrong by just unplugging them from life support and killing them? Like, what's the difference there? Like, where do you draw the line then?
Okay, so I mean, if you think that that's conceptually analogous, like relating someone like forcefully taking your bodily resources without your consent to like someone being on a ventilator, we're just gonna move on to our next guest. Like, I mean, if like you can't like conceptually understand these things to like such like a low degree, we're just gonna go ahead and like move on to our next guest, y'all. For the 6.4 thousand people hanging out with us in here today, guys, make sure that we're double tapping away on that phone screen. What's going on, Colby? Are you voting for Trump?
Oh yes, sir.
Okay, he's like driving his car. Yeah, like if the ventilator like had like personhood and was conscious, and the old person like forcefully connected themselves to the ventilator, yeah, the ventilator wouldn't be doing anything wrong if they disconnected the old person from them. How about that? What's up, Levi? Are you voting for Trump?
Oh yes, I am.
Phenomenal. Why is that?
My main thing is like, so what do you see on the trans part? Like with trans sports and like
I see like no active campaign from either side of the political party advocating for anything to do with trans individuals or trans people in sports, restrooms, bathrooms, etc. All I see is like transphobic Republicans such as yourself, right, excusing.
Hold on. I'm not transphobic. I never say anything about me being transphobic. I just don't think that trans men should be able to play with women when biologically trans men are more like stronger, more athletic. Like, yeah, don't look at me like that. The fuck?
I mean, so first of all, I just disagree. What did you just say?
I said that trans men are.
Did you just say the N-word?
Stronger. No.
Okay.
I said don't look at me like that.
Okay, I just had a curiosity.
I'm not you. I don't say the N-word. I'm not you. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm not you.
Okay. So what policy is Trump going to pass that's going to ban trans women from playing?
No, I'm not saying that he's not doing any policy about that. I'm just saying with trans women or trans men, they should not.
How does that influence your vote in the election?
Because that's the same way he looks at it too, and I look at it the same way he does. And also with past that part.
So what policy is going to pass to enforce that?
No, you're right. You're right. There's no policy about that. So I'll put that one away.
I mean, like the answer to this is like very fucking simple, Levi. Like I find no issue with trans women competing in women's sports because they don't have an unfair biological advantage over cis women. After about 3 to 5 years of HRT, right, it is the case, right, that a male will have no biological advantage over a female, especially if it is the case that they don't undergo male puberty. Right, so I find no issue with trans women competing in women's sports. But all things considered, this is not a policy-oriented issue that is going to be passed under either presidency. Right, although like Trump is transphobic and calls trans women men, like he can't pass policy to ban trans women from playing in sports. But I think it's absolutely fucking hilarious. So you're going to sit here and say that you're for the party of small government, you're for the party of staying out of our personal lives, but then you want our federal government to go into like sports leagues on the local, state, and like collegiate level and like forcefully determine who can and can't play, alongside the simple fact that you want to demonize 0.05% of the overall population, if not slimmer, which is trans people that compete in sporting leagues, right, just so you could justify a vote for the grapist womanizer, like sexist racist that's tried to coup the country. but he left. What's up, Aiden? Are you voting for Trump?
Yes, I am.
All right. How old are you?
I'm 22.
All right. So why are you voting for Trump, man?
I'm voting for Trump because I'd like the Trump tax cuts to stay in place.
Okay. What's your annual income?
My annual income. Well, I know where you're going with this, and you're right. The Kamala tax cuts will benefit. Well, actually,
you more
benefit
exactly.
Lower class people.
So
more
what's your
in terms of
annual
monetary
income?
value?
What's your annual income?
Like 100K.
Okay, I mean, first of all, you're lying about that. But even secondarily, yeah, Kamala Harris's tax plan will benefit you more making $100,000 per year compared to Trump's. His disproportionately favors rich people. Hers is built for people like you as well as the average American, so individuals in that low and the middle class. Right, you're going to have more purchasing power at the end of the day. I have no clue how an 18-year-old is making 100K. But
I said 22.
Even 22. I mean, yeah, you're still going to benefit more off of Kamala Harris's proposed tax policy compared to Trump's. So, why would you want to vote for Trump and his tax policy compared to Harris's when Harris's will benefit you more?
I like Trump tax cuts better because his provides a bigger percentage tax cut. And so, I know that Kamala's tax cut will give you, a bigger...
No, you'll actually be worse off with
different,
because he wants to implement tariffs that regressively impact members of the low and middle class the most by causing more inflation. So not only will you see more of a direct tax cut to yourself under Kamala Harris's proposed policy, but you'll actually be served a detriment if you vote for Trump and his tax policy is implemented due to the tariffs that he wants to impose and the inflation in which they'd cause.
Don't the Trump tax cuts give a larger percentage tax cut to lower class people?
No.
I'm pretty sure they do.
Okay, could you show me where in the TCGA that's proposed right now how that'd be the case?
I mean, obviously,
are you talking about marginal tax rates?
Yes.
Okay, so what's your current effective tax rate, and what will that be reduced to under a Trump presidency?
Well, one thing I'd like to point out is that when let's say you give everybody a 1% tax cut, obviously people who make $40,000 a year are going to get a lower monetary value tax cut. But what that $400 means to someone making 40K is a lot more than someone who's making 10 million and gets an extra 100K. That $400 is a much more meaningful amount of money to that person.
Yeah, but even when we factor in for a proportionality in income, right, it still disproportionately favors rich people.
Can you show me that?
Yeah, sure. So the top 1% pays 45% of taxes, yet they got 83% of the tax cuts in the bill, meaning when we'd factor in for income and tax burden, it still disproportionately favored them at the end of the day.
That's still you're talking about the value.
We're talking about the actual cuts provided.
Okay, well, I read that wasn't the case. Can you tell me where I can look to find that?
You could read the TCGA, right? I'd also recommend reading the CBO's appropriation on the TCGA, right? You could also go to taxpolicycenter.org, look up TCGA, look up burdens under TCGA and who it benefited. You could also find the macroeconomic impacts of the 2017 tax reform bill, right? Written by two Harvard professors, one right-leaning, one left-leaning, just by looking the title up online. Yeah.
So are the Kamala tax cuts still more beneficial for me if I don't have any children and don't get to take advantage of her child tax credits?
Yeah.
Because I think if I don't have that, then Trump's is better.
Okay, it is still more beneficial. So what is Trump proposing for you?
He's keeping the Trump tax cuts in place instead of raising them.
Just as they are currently. Okay, so Kamala Harris is keeping the Trump tax cuts in place, then
no, she doesn't.
And then increasing the burden on people making over $400,000 a year and offering better incentives for members of the low and the middle class.
Okay. All right. Do you want to talk about foreign policy?
No, I'm just going to kick you because you're not receptive to anything that I've said. You're not giving me your sources and you're just being boring. So we're going to move on to our next guest. God damn it. It's bro, I'm making these good points and then you're okay, let's go ahead and just move on to the next topic. It's just annoying, dude. Let's go and see what our next guest has to say. Everyone, just do give us a minute, guys. For the 6.3 thousand people hanging out with us in here today, guys, make sure that we're double tapping away on that phone screen. Dude, if you're going to come up here and have a conversation about tax policy, you feel absolutely free to, right? But make it interesting. Actually engage with my points, try to dispute them. What's up, Matthew and me, Levant? Are you guys voting for Trump?
Of course. Yes.
Awesome. Why are you guys voting for Trump?
He's got better policies than Kamala Harris.
Okay, who said that?
That was me.
Okay, phenomenal. What time is it right now?
12:30.
Phenomenal. All right, so he's better policy. So what policies does he have that are better? Wait, 12:30. Where are you at?
Utah.
Hell yeah, you're like on the eastern side of Utah. That's a very small time zone. That's a very small time zone. I'm in that time zone as well. Anyways, yeah. What about his policies do you like?
I like the tax plan. I like his views on.
About the tax plan, what's your annual income?
I make 65,000.
Okay, brother, you're. All right, so 83% of the cuts in the TCJ went to people making over $500,000 a year. People making over $500,000 a year benefited the most, while people making under $50,000 benefited the least. It's disproportionately built for the rich man, people like Trump. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris's proposed tax policy is built for you and people just like you. It's literally made for the average American and 100 million American workers and alone the middle class, right? So, like, unequivocally, it is true that if you vote for Trump and he's elected, you will have less money in your bank account at the end of the day with a higher tax burden, with less of purchasing power, especially because of his tariffs, than if Kamala Harris was elected.
Well, I thought he was planning on reducing the tax to 15%. Right now, corporate tax is 21%.
It is 21%. Yeah.
I thought he was planning on reducing it to 15%.
He is maybe planning on doing that. How's that going to benefit you?
I pay way too much for taxes.
You own a corporation?
No, but it's isn't corporate tax what the company pays for my social security and all of that.
Okay, well, that's the company's burden. That won't impact.
That burden is passed to me.
No, it's actually
my paycheck 65%. Then I get reduced 21%.
So that's just not, no, corporate tax rate is not what would apply to that. It's about 50-50. That's a company's burden. It's not passed to you through your paycheck. Historically speaking, we've had like very high levels of corporate tax rate. In the 60s, 70s, and 80s, we had 45 to 55% with like higher like real median wages than we would now. We also had higher levels of employment with lower levels of specifically with lower levels of lower levels of inflation, right? Then we'd also have to consider his plan for tariffs. That's going to drastically like destroy companies that also are predominantly reliant on exports and importation of goods. That will like probably end up like trickling down to you and harming you as a worker.
I actually like the tariffs. I think we need more tariffs right now.
Okay, why?
Just look at companies. I don't know about other states. I can only talk about
why do we need more tariffs? Wait, what is a tariff?
The tariff is the concept where imports will cost more.
Yeah. You know what? You're right. Now, why is goods costing more a good thing? You just defined tariffs as inflation. You literally just defined a tariff as the concept of inflation. So why is the concept of inflation a good thing?
Well, tariffs are regulation. It can affect inflation. But
you just called them regulation too. So you're saying government regulation that causes inflation? That is so far. That is your definition of what a tariff is. First of all, based. Second of all, hell yeah, you were absolutely right. Third of all, you just saved me so much argumentation. So please tell me why a government regulation that causes inflation is a good thing.
Well, but I want to talk about how that can be a good thing. I feel like lots of businesses are just I don't know if you've noticed, but like family stores or like dollar stores or clothing stores, like different types of stores, they're just going bankrupt. It's very hard for them to compete with Amazon, with Temu, with all these other places where, because the tariffs so low, they have a lot of competitive advantage over these stores. And so my point is that now we have a lot of unemployment because the stores are going bankrupt. Less people with jobs. Those businesses, they do pay taxes. and they pay a lot of taxes. So we're literally losing businesses that pay taxes. We are having people that are unemployed now. But if we were to raise our tariffs, then it'd be easier for those clothing stores or
Okay, so you
family
basically just
stores
want
to
the government to bail you out. Like, fuck the free market. You want to control the market to make it more optimal for American producers. So there's other ways to make it more optimal for American producers without an unnecessary government regulation that causes or creates these inefficiencies, such as inflation and the plummeting of U.S. exports. And that would just be through investment in the market. Right? That's what we need to be doing. That's what Biden and Harris did with the Chips and Science Act that like promotes American manufacturing. That's what Trump did with the American Farmers Bill. That's what promoted American manufacturing after he destroyed them with tariffs, right? Tariffs cause inflation and they destroy American companies that rely on exports because they start trade wars. Historically, every time we've increased tariffs on China, right, we've seen a decline of agricultural exports from our country, right? And we can negate all of these negative side effects and focus on American manufacturing still just through raw investment, not through unnecessary government intervention.
Throughout history, we've seen good results of tariffs, though. Abraham Lincoln believed in tariffs. Different presidents believed in tariffs, and
yeah, you want to know why? That's because, like, yeah, you're talking about presidents from the 19th century. So just out of curiosity, can we use our common sense to determine why presidents for the first, like, 150 years of our country's life thought that tariffs were a good thing? And I'd actually say so as well. Like, maybe it's because at that point, there's no industrial sect built into our country, right? So we could be dominated through the imports from any other country that had already been industrialized to a sufficient degree. And if we wanted to build an industrial sect of our country, we had to impose tariffs. So we forced people to manufacture here so we could build our own GDP, right? That's what you have to do when like you're in like those baby steps of like the creation of tariffs. Like this is like saying like, oh, like a toddler like needs to wear diapers to learn how to use the bathroom. But you know, the older you get, you stop wearing the diapers, you kind of take the training wheels off and you go to the bathroom like a big boy. Like, think about the diaper, like, insanely high tariffs to promote manufacturing in the infancy of a new country. But, like, once we're able to industrialize to a sufficient degree, we no longer need that because of the regulations, because of the inefficiencies that they produce.
So how do we, my problem is with all these stores going out of business. How do we control
what stores
Amazon?
are going out of business because of imports from other countries?
Could you explain that again?
Yeah, what stores are going out of business because of imports from other countries?
JCPenney, I've seen lots of JCPenney's going out of business. There's a big
could you please show me how JCPenney's is going out of business because of other countries importing?
Well, I can Google right now how many JCPenney stores.
Yeah, no, please do it. Please Google that. I'd love for you to give me, right, a study that demonstrate that the reason JCPenney's is shutting down is because of imports. Also, not to mention that if you're saying that this is happening in the last 8 years, we'd have had tariffs on China for the last 8 years, with a majority of the companies that you're referencing, such as Temu, all importing from China. So seemingly, if you're saying that these companies are still going out of business until today, and we already have tariffs on imports from China, you're essentially saying that tariffs on imports do not stop U.S. producers from going out of business. So this actually kind of refutes and disproves your own hypothesis. And then also, Christian, thank you so much for the $100 on PayPal. I appreciate you for the love. Christian from Norway is hospitalized for COVID. No. Get better soon, Christian. We love you. I appreciate you so much for the $100 donation. I hope that you get well soon, bro. Show some love to Christian. We love you here. No. Oh, man.
I just Googled about the JCPenney store. It's apparently they closed 154 stores. Man,
we have tariffs on China. That's the country that you're going to be relaying here with like Temu and stuff, and they're still going out of business. This just means that tariffs won't solve the issue. So we know that tariffs won't solve the issue, and they still create these
issue? Because I feel like Amazon, Temu, all those companies.
We don't even need to talk about what will solve the issue. We just need to recognize that in accordance with your own worldview, tariffs aren't, and because they still create these inefficiencies, they're not something good. All right, then also, like, brick and mortar stores aren't going out of business because of imports. Brick and mortar stores are going out of business because of online shopping, even from U.S. producers. And, like, Amazon, by the way, is a U.S. fucking company. Just putting that one out there. Amazon is a U.S. company.
Yeah, but their products they're manufactured in China.
Not all the time, man. And then once again, if they're manufactured in China, they get tariffed right now and have been for the last 8 years since Trump got elected. And your claim is that these companies are still going out of business.
Yeah, and that's why Trump wants to.
And by the way, J.C. Penney's also imports from China. Just saying.
Yeah, but they pay employees here. They have lots of employees here.
Okay, bro.
Whereas
Could you just fucking leave? Like, you're not recognizing any of my points, and I'm annoyed.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, have a good one, bro. Matthew, what's going on? Are you voting for Trump?
How you doing, Dan? Yeah, I'm voting for Trump, buddy.
And why is that?
I like him better on the economy. I like his stance on AB, and I enjoy his overall sense of energy of how he wants to help America as a whole.
Okay, well, we've been talking about the economy for a good bit now. Feel free to bring up points if you want to, but talking about abortion, do you think that abortion is murder?
Yes.
And you agree with his stance? Totally and completely?
His stance that AB is murder, but there should be exceptions? Yes, absolutely.
Oh, no, his stance that it should be left up to the states. Like, you think that human rights, like murder, should be left up to the states?
I think that there should be a certain amount of democracy when it comes to this issue, because I don't think that it's necessarily a black and white issue. I think that there's a lot of gray in between.
Okay, so I mean, if we should like democratically decide on if like a murder should be legal or illegal, right? Would you say that the Confederacy had it right with determining that it should be democratically decided state by state if slavery should be illegal or illegal?
That's irrelevant to AB.
No, it's not, because you're implying here that abortion's murder. It's a violation of like a human right, yet it should still be left up to the state. Like, what's a relevant distinction between saying that this human right in the context of abortion should be left up to the state, but this other human right in the context of being able to own another human as property shouldn't?
Because I believe that AB has a lot of gray area to it, where slavery, like what you state, does not. It's the actual ownership of a human being.
What's the gray area in abortion for you? It's very simple from the pro-life worldview, killing an innocent.
Sure, yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. I believe that if a woman has her rights taken away from her through rape or whatever other means, and also through the health care of the mother, if her life is at risk, then yes, I believe that it is not just permissible, but completely acceptable for her to have a choice in that matter.
But we federally legislate on quote-unquote gray areas like all the time. Like, I'll just give you another quote-unquote gray area in the context of murder, self-defense. Like, it's a gray area if like someone walks into your house and points a pew-pew at your head. If you pew-pew them back, you're a murderer or not, right? And we'd make an exception for that legally. We call it self-defense, and that's what's codified into federal law. So, I mean, like, quote-unquote
no, I
gray
completely
areas,
agree with
just
that
making
point.
exceptions for abortion doesn't doesn't give you any leeway insofar as stating that is why it should be left up to the state. Do you think that like all murder everywhere should be left up to the state because all murder everywhere has gray area?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so then obviously you just be special appealing in this case. You're appealing to the gray area. You're appealing to exceptions.
I'm
You also
appealing-
recognize gray area and exceptions and like a typical murder that we'd all know and understand, but yet you'd still say that it should be federally illegal. So like when you say that like it should be like left up to the states to determine if you can murder babies, but like not own slaves, you have to give me a difference there. But like at the end of the day, the only difference is that you don't value the life of a fetus sufficiently, right? And thereby you think it's okay for the state to legislate on it. You call it murder, but you don't view it as murder.
I mean, you're just putting words into my mouth right now. I never said any of that.
That's the only out that I could think of for you here. If you could tell me what the real difference between a murder in the context of abortion being left up to the state is and slavery being left up to the state, that isn't just saying, well, it's not really murder and I don't view it as such.
Because slavery is a more black and white issue where abortion is not. I mean, I apologize and I disagree with you.
I think it's very black and white. You said four conditions. Yeah. You said elective lethal abortions, murder, right? If it's not an elective lethal abortion, insofar as rape, incest, or life of the mother, not murder. We legislate on things like that all of the time.
Okay, so my question to you would be, do you think that it's perfectly acceptable for a woman to choose to have AB in the 8th month of pregnancy when the baby can be born and be viable?
No, so I think that lethal elective abortions become immoral not only after the point of viability, when they would gain the ability to deploy sentience. Thank you for asking me about my position, but I'd still like for you to clarify on yours.
Sure, I thought I already clarified on mine, buddy. I think that there should be exceptions.
What's up, Tommy? It's good to see you. No, you just said in one case, right, it should be left up to the state, and when we're speaking out about abortion, but not when we're talking about slavery. No. And then your reason was that one's black and white and one's not black and white. But like I've already demonstrated to you,
right, but
how that is not a sufficient explanation, because we can draw legislatively these lines, right?
Sure,
if we had like a perfect arbiter of the law, you could absolutely draft like legislation to say that murder is permissible and should be legal in these contexts when these conditions are met, while being illegal in these other contexts when these other conditions are met, right? It could be an incredibly black and white simplistic issue, right? If we just had good lawmakers that agreed in accordance with your worldview, right? And that doesn't negate my point. In fact, it just kind of railroads it. Like the point
I'm not railroading your point. I actually agree with your point right now.
You're saying that the human right of the fetus, the right to life, that should be left up and determined by like state by state.
No,
so
I never
why shouldn't
said
slavery?
So here's the deal. Like I live in Ohio, right? And Ohio legislatively passed a pro-choice bill with like no exceptions. So I can literally call down to Planned Parenthood right now and they will abort in the 36th week, which I don't necessarily agree with. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't. I think that elective lethal abortions should like be illegal after like the point of sentience, and no one really does.
So we're finding a little bit of common ground
So what's
here.
the difference between Ohio legalizing murder in the context of a fetus, right, and Ohio legalizing slavery?
Okay, so again, slavery is the ownership of a person. It's a black and white issue.
Okay, and murder is the intentional, unjustified killing of a person.
So if you're asking me if I agree, if a state says
you're just saying that stop talking. No. You're just saying that it's a gray area.
Why do you want me to stop talking?
This is an incredibly black or white issue. When a mother gets an elective lethal abortion, is she murdering the fetus in her womb?
It depends on her circumstance.
Okay, do you know what an elective lethal abortion is?
It depends on her circumstance.
I'm asking you, Matthew, I'm asking you a very simple question. Do you know what an elective lethal abortion is?
An elective, it's a pro-choice stance, yes.
No, you define elective abortion.
Elective abortion is simply electing to abort a fetus, bro.
That would fall outside of rape, incest, or medical medical necessity. Right. So when I say that, well, when Ohio legalizes elective lethal abortions, what I'm implying is that these are going to be women that consent to engage in intercourse, understand the potentiality of pregnancy that would follow, were not raped, did not engage in incest, and don't have any reason born out of medical necessity. When Ohio legalizes elective lethal abortions, under your worldview, they are legalizing a very black, white, and simple issue, that of murder. Right? So what is the difference between Ohio legalizing elective lethal abortions and Ohio legalizing slavery?
Again, they don't correlate, bro. Like, okay, so like the legislative branch of Ohio can go on to cast amendments to this bill, and the voter base can still vote on it for different exceptions. So I'm going to agree with you here that the extremism of the right has become so extreme that a lot of people, like Ohio, have no choice but to vote for.
So your argument is that they just don't correlate. So the reason why that argument,
no, slavery and AB do not correlate at all.
The correlation between these two things is that in one sense you'd be infringing upon the right to life of a fetus, the fetus, in a very black and white sense. You're murdering it, and in the other instance, you're just infringing upon other like basic intrinsic human rights, such as the right to autonomy, self-ownership, etc. Right. So the correlation here would be, well, if you think that Ohio should have the ability to legislate, right, on this very black and white human right issue of the right to life, why don't you think that Ohio should have the ability to legislate on very black and white issues such as the right to self-ownership and autonomy?
Because it's against the Constitution, number one.
Okay, so slavery, you only think that states shouldn't be able to legislate on slavery because of the Constitution. So prior to the amendment of...
Nor would they be allowed to.
So prior to the addition of the 12th or 14th Amendment, would you say that states should not legalize slavery?
States should not legalize slavery. No, it would be against the Constitution too.
I'm saying prior to when the Constitution covered for slavery.
I can't attest to something that wasn't put in place in law prior to that. Like,
sure, you can. I could say this easily. I could say this easily. Like during the time of the Confederacy, prior to when the Constitution covered slavery, or I'd say that all the states in the Confederacy should not have legalized slavery. Is that something that you could agree with?
I agree with that, sure. Based on our Constitution, absolutely. I agree with that.
So that was prior to when the Constitution covered slavery.
Correct, and I
So when you
believe
say-
that's
so-
the reason
so-
why it was legislated to.
So when you'd
be
say
done
that
away
they
with,
should
though.
not have legalized slavery
So you're
prior
kind of
to when the
proving my point here.
Constitution covered for slavery, and then you say be based on the Constitution, well, if your view here was solely based on the Constitution, what ground would you have to say that states in the Confederacy shouldn't have legalized slavery as the Constitution did not cover for slavery?
You're losing me, brother. You're losing me.
It's
I'm
a
trying
very-
to have
it's a very
I'm trying
simple
to have a
point.
reasonable conversation with you. You're asking me to go back in time. To
Yeah,
where
I'll go ahead and
slavery
I'll
was
go ahead and
legal.
repeat my point,
Okay.
Matthew.
And then
I'll go ahead and
how
repeat my point.
slavery. Okay, well, hold on. Let me finish if you don't mind. So you're asking me to go back in time to a point where slavery was legal, and then you're like completely dismissing the legislative processes and the war that ensued to make it to cast the necessary amendments to clarify what the Constitution had put in place. So
because I don't think that morality is based upon legislation, right? So when I make the claim that prior
no, but
to when
legislation's based on morality, though.
exactly,
Would you
but
agree
you
with
told me that the reason you think that Ohio shouldn't have the right to legalize slavery is because of the Constitution, right? Well, what I would say is that even prior to when the Constitution explicitly made slave ownership illegal, they still should not have legalized slavery, right?
I'm not
And if it
in
is the case-
disagreement with this.
Okay, so if it is the case that you'd say that Ohio, prior to when the Constitution covered slave ownership, right, and they still haven't legalized slavery, then you'd be saying that no, that is not based upon the Constitution. Okay, so then in what sense can you say, right?
But we're in the here and now, though, buddy. We're
I
in the
know,
here and now.
but now that we have the conceptual understanding that the reason you think states shouldn't legislate on slavery has nothing to do with the Constitution because legality doesn't drive morality, with what reason would you say that Ohio should have the ability to legislate on the right to life, but not like the right of self-autonomy and self-ownership, such as slavery?
Sure. And that's what the whole point that I was trying to get to. So I don't necessarily agree with a completely regulated form of AB like Ohio has right now. I believe that it should be legislated up to include things such as, not terminating a pregnancy in the third trimester, for instance, because a baby can be born viable. There are other options such as adoption and things of that nature if a mother truly doesn't want the kid. So that there are a lot of
So you think that like elective lethal abortion should be federally illegal?
I'm sorry?
So you think that elective lethal abortion should be federally illegal?
No. Not necessarily.
So then
No.
you do think that states should have the right to legalize elective lethal abortions?
No, I actually don't. I think that there should. No, listen.
Okay.
I think that there should be.
Matthew, with all due respect, that's a true dichotomy. Okay.
No,
So
but I think
you've presented. No, stop.
You're not letting me explain.
What you've presented me with, right, is a contradiction. You can't
No,
say
but you're not
that
letting
the
me
federal.
explain.
You,
This is
I
why,
will. I
because you're
will
not
allow
looking
you.
at the gray area.
I will
You're
allow
just-
you.
you think
I
it's a
will
black and
allow
white
you.
issue.
I
It's
will
not.
allow. It is a black and white issue.
It's not.
It is.
Okay, so if you
The
let me
reason why
explain-
elective lethal abortion is a black and white issue
is this
is
a
because
two-way
we're implying
conversation
here.
I'm trying to be reasonable with you here, man. I really am.
You're not trying to be reasonable for the reason that I'm attempting to explain your contradiction, and you're not
go
hearing me out
ahead.
for it.
No, I already know the contradiction that you're explaining, and I think that is very contradictory that a state can go ahead and right now because because Roe v. Wade got sent back down to the states in a democratic process. I do think that it's wrong for a state to freaking legislate abortion with no exceptions. So you and I are agreeing here, but you're just trying to make an argument where there is none between you and I. What I am saying
There is an
I
argument,
think-
and we are in disagreement.
Okay, sure. What do you disagree with then? With what I just said?
Yes, because all I'm asking you to clarify is, do you think that Ohio or any state should have the legal right to legislate on a woman's access to elective lethal abortion?
No. I've already clarified.
So you think that elective lethal abortions should be federally illegal, correct? Because that is how we prevent this. How do we prevent Ohio from having the right to legislate on access?
Because
to
we
elective
need
lethal
to
abortion?
because we need to revisit the legislation and
Matthew.
put in place
Matthew. No.
terminology.
I'm asking you a very fucking simple question. How do we ensure?
You need to explain, bro.
You're
not allowing me to
Shut
explain.
up. How do we ensure that Ohio does not have the right to legislate on a woman's access to elective lethal abortion? Answer me that question.
I have been trying, but you keep cutting me off, sir. I think that we have to revisit the legislation and put terminology in place that does not allow. I am answering your question, bro. Like,
no,
my goodness.
I asked you how we ensure that states don't have the right to legislate on
revisiting the legislation. I'm answering your question by revisiting the legislation and implementing terminology that doesn't allow a woman to just go ahead and use it as birth control.
Legislation on what level?
On the federal level, absolutely.
So you think it should be federally illegal?
For elective abortion?
Yes.
With the terminology in place that allows for the different exceptions as far as rape, as far as the woman's health, yes. And we didn't have that before.
So Matthew, here's the issue. I asked you 2 times if you think that exactly that should be federally illegal, and what was your answer both times? No. So first, I
because you're leading into the question poorly. Number one. Number two,
I'm not leading into anything
allowing
poorly.
me to explain my full position without cutting me off. So if I could actually get a full sentence out, maybe we can come to common ground.
Okay, so you're saying that your answer, if I did not cut you off, would have been no, but yes?
No, that's not what I'm saying, bro. You're like putting words into my mouth. Look.
No, you literally just told me if I didn't cut you off after you answered no both those times, you would have been able to give me the same answer that you just gave me. But essentially that answer would have been no, but yes.
And and you're like just not allowing me to make my full point, which is just disingenuous of you.
So now you've gotten to the point that you think that elective lethal access should be federally illegal. Phenomenal. The reason why I disagree with you on that is not only do I think that there's no good reason to be pro-life and to believe that termination of the life of a fetus is a bad thing, but additionally it produces suboptimal outcomes insofar in areas with pro-life legislation. We see higher rates of like homelessness, we see lower rates of education, income, and lower overall qualities of life. But as you believe that legislation should be predicated, how so?
Yeah.
Like, because what we'd see with pro-life legislation is it shifts a family dynamic away from financially well-off adults that consent to raising kids that desire to start a family into forcing young teenagers, boys and girls, into being parents, forced to have kids by placing unwanted children.
We're not forcing kids to have kids, though. We have adoption agencies, we have foster care systems, and we have different implementations throughout the country that can absolve this without having an AB.
Okay.
Would you
do you think that? No, because I don't think that abortion is an alternative.
You don't agree that we don't have adoption agencies and other things in this country that can absolve this issue?
Yeah, because I don't think that adoption is an alternative to an abortion. An adoption is not an alternative to pregnancy, and adoption is alternative to raising a kid. But also in lieu of alternatives, I also don't think that makes it wrong. So let me ask you this question. Why is a woman getting an elective lethal abortion morally wrong?
Why is it morally wrong?
Yeah.
Again, it would be dependent on her circumstance. But if a woman is just one day in the 3rd trimester going, I don't want to have this.
No, I like an elective lethal abortion prior to about 20 weeks.
Prior to 20 weeks?
Yeah.
So we're talking about the 2nd trimester then?
Yeah.
Well, I believe that it's pretty, I mean, I would probably take it all the way down to maybe like 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay, why?
Simply because of brainwave activity and a heartbeat. Yeah.
Okay. So you think that brainwave activity and a heartbeat is what would make a life morally valuable?
Absolutely, because I believe because I believe that value comes from sort of sentience, like you like to say, also a little bit of self-awareness as well, and we can detect that.
So if you think that value is tangential of sentience, our current understanding of like the preponderance of studies done by neuroscientists would suggest that sentience cannot arise until about 20 through 24 weeks, right? We would see alpha and delta brainwaves earlier, beginning at about 8 weeks. However, we don't have the sufficient brainwaves to like deploy sentience.
How do you define sentience in this context then?
Yeah, like we could just define sentience as like first-person subjective awareness and experience.
Okay, so you don't think that a fetus sucking its thumb in the womb at like 8 weeks old, or putting a fist in the mouth isn't self-aware?
Yeah, no, and I mean that's what the understanding is within our current like understanding of like medical sciences. Yeah. Like you wouldn't be able to reference me
understanding of medical science maybe, but not mine.
Okay, then reference me a study done within the last 25 years.
I'm on my phone, bro. I would love
to deploy prior to like.
I mean, if you're going to ask me sources, I would love to give them to you, and I would love to message them to you. But I'm on my phone. They don't exist.
They literally don't exist. So then give one. Then give one to me. You could go on pause and you could find it on your phone, old man.
Old man. Wow. Why are you so angry, bro?
Okay, so now your pivot is now you want to pivot away from the conversation.
I'm not pivoting away, but why are you calling me names? Like it just doesn't make any sense. I'm trying to have a respectful conversation with you.
I'm just teaching the boomer how to use your phone. I understand this is
how
the pivot.
It works. When you start calling people names, you're losing the argument here.
I mean, Matthew, what's going on is you're currently pivoting away from conversation about empirics to justify.
I'm not pivoting away.
Okay, now you're interrupting me too. I'm gonna go put you on mute. So yeah, no, that's just what you do, right? So you're just like looking for any out. So this is what the Republicans always do when they're backed into the corner.
I'm not a Republican, bro.
Hey, with all due respect, don't interrupt me while the Ramon's talking. So when like the Republican is backed into the corner and they have no out because Matthew made an abundantly false claim, right, that sentience has the ability to deploy prior to about 20 through 24 weeks, they start looking for any out. Right. And what Matthew is doing right now is he's attempting to grab on to the out of let me talk about Dean's character. Let me talk about what Dean is calling me so we could pivot and change the subject away from empirics to justify his claim that sentience has the ability to deploy at 8 weeks. So I will now ask you to stay on topic. I will now ask you to provide me with a source to justify that sentience can deploy at 8 weeks. You have more than sufficient opportunity to do such. You can pause your phone, go on Google.
I don't have to go look at a source for you if we can come into agreement that simple the five senses that we have, and if a fetus or a child within the womb can suck on its own thumb, and you're saying that that's not self-awareness. And you don't.
It's not self-awareness.
You don't believe that. You seriously don't believe that sucking on your own thumb isn't self-awareness, where you have the ability to sense and touch and things like that. I mean that is like almost the definition of self-awareness, bro.
No, and the reason that I disagree with you here is I believe that an evidentiary standard of a preponderance of the last 40 years of research from medical institutions of science and technology with career-driven professional neurobiologists that I can demonstrate to you is much more reliable standard of evidence than a picture of a fetus sucking on a thumb. Okay? Right? And now this is just the rejection of intellectualism. You are now engaging in anti-intellectualism. Your claim is...
I'm not engaging in anti-intellectual.
You are, and the reason is that you negate the sources, you negate the institutions of medicine and science, you negate like the Netherlands Institute for Brain Research and the Center for Neuroendocrine Studies done at like the University of Pittsburgh in Massachusetts. You reject the career professionals, you reject the PhDs, all of the scientists, and the preponderance of our understanding of the brain, how it functions, and how the thymocortical connections would allow sentience to first emerge, right, at about 20 through 24 weeks, all because you believe that a fetus sucking on their thumb is sufficient to you, right, for self-awareness or sentience. So what you need to do is you need to come to a better understanding, right? Reject the idea that you can better understand, right, the function of the human brain through quote unquote self-evidence than all institutions of medicine and science.
Well, I would say that I reject the ideology that is the status quo of those things. And I would say to you that these things are just self-evident to human beings.
Holy fucking shit. Okay, so if activity is self-evident of sentience.
Activity, yes.
Okay, well, we see unicellular organisms engaging in the environment around them. Does that mean that unicellular organisms are sentient?
Unicellular organisms. I mean, you've taken us down a rabbit hole so far that maybe I should ask you to focus a little bit.
That's not a rabbit hole. Please answer my question.
It is a rabbit hole. I mean, because we're going, how so? Because we're talking about a multicellular organism, not a unicellular organism. It's a difference.
The relation here is that you're rejecting our understanding of neuroscience by saying that the fetus prior to 20 weeks can engage in the environment around it. And I'm saying simple engagement in the environment around an entity, right, is not indicative of like self-awareness or sentience, because we would see this trait present in unicellular organisms that we know are obviously not self-aware.
It's two different organisms, though. You're conflating unicellular organisms with multicellular organisms, and that's not a conflation that I'm willing to make.
So how come engagement in the environment around a unicellular organism is not indicative of sentience, but engagement in the environment around one in a multicellular organism is?
Because does a unicellular organism have consciousness?
No, neither the fetus. You're making the implication of what you believe would derive consciousness. And if your argument is that because the fetus engages in the world around it, right, to some small scale, that this is derivative of consciousness, well, I just say the same argument for the unicellular organism. In fact, yes, right? Because the unicellular organism engages in its environment, then it is conscious.
So you think that a unicellular organism is conscious?
Yeah, and that would follow tangential of your logic, and that's why we shouldn't trust these self-evident.
Can you give me a source on that?
Oh, well, I mean, if you want sources, and this is how we would demonstrate that something is true or not through research, well, no, I can't give you a source to demonstrate that unicellular organisms are conscious because we don't determine consciousness derivative of engagement in an environment the same way we shouldn't determine that a fetus is conscious due to its engagement in its environment prior to 20 weeks. But now, if your standard for evidence for determining if one's ability to deploy consciousness is a source, how about we reference Consciousness in the Cradle on the Emergence of Infant Experience, written by Tim Brain, Joel Faunch, PMID 378-38614. And this is a multi-page study. It's about 74 pages long, right? Determining, right, where consciousness is derivative of and placing it at about 24 weeks in a fetus.
Sure.
So
and I'll,
now, if your standard for evidence is sources,
study.
please now give me a source that a fetus has the ability to deploy consciousness prior to 20 weeks.
No. The source I asked you for was if a unicellular organism, your source for a unicellular organism is conscious, like you suggested.
Oh yeah, I was using your logic.
That was the
against
source
you.
that I asked for.
I was using your logic against you. That claim was false. All right, and then I have another source too: the emergence of consciousness.
Okay, but why are you making the claim?
Huel, because I was using your logic against you.
Okay, so you're just straw manning me then?
No, it's not a straw man because it's your logic. We're demonstrating how your logic.
It's not my logic. That's your logic.
No, your logic.
You're the one that's conflating unicellular and multicellular organisms, and I'm refuting that.
Matthew, your logic was that a fetus at 5 weeks has the ability to deploy consciousness because it engages in its environment. Is that true?
Yes, I believe that by the five senses that we have, having the ability to move around, suck your thumb, realizing what is the ability to see light and darkness. Yes, I believe that these are self-evident clues that something is conscious.
Okay.
So
yeah, and if we want to
there's brainwave activity that allows for these things to happen. Yeah,
we see like the same. Wait, what kind of brainwave activity allows for consciousness to occur?
Brainwave activity starts around 4 weeks.
Wait, so you're saying any brainwave activity would allow an entity to be conscious?
I'm not saying any. I'm not a neuroscientist. Are you?
Oh wait, are you saying that we should trust the neuroscientists?
I'm just asking you.
No, I'm not. But Hugh,
I'm not saying that we should just trust the neuroscientists.
One second. Wait, one second. I'm not a neuroscientist, but Hugh L is a neuroscientist.
And I'll be glad to read that study.
And I have another study from Hugh L, The Emergence of Consciousness, Science, and Ethics. This is by Hugh L, right? This is an abstraction DOI 10.1016/J.SINY.2014.08.003 that would be indicative of consciousness only having the ability to emerge at about 20 to 24 weeks.
So I like how you've kind of pivoted over here to where you are making now false assertions to try to disprove my argument.
Like what?
So if you're going to make an assertion, why don't you stand by it?
So what's a false assertion?
The false assertion of a unicellular organism having consciousness.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that was a false assertion to show how your logic was faulty.
No, that's just if you're going to make a statement like that, why don't you stand by it? Why are you willing to make false assertions?
It wasn't a false assertion. It's called an.
It was because it was an assertion that you try to make to win the argument, but you can't because that's just freaking ludicrous.
Okay. Do you know what an internal critique is?
I'm sorry?
Do you know what an internal critique is?
An internal critique? Yes.
Okay. What is that?
It's when you are internally going through something and realizing the pros and cons and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I'm going to explain to you now how that's an internal critique. Please don't interrupt.
But you're the one that made the claim, though, and I just don't understand why you would make a false claim in order to try to. Because what would happen was you would make that false claim for me to concede, and then you'd be like, "There I go, I win." But you're making it, but it's based on a falsehood. So, like, let's keep it real here, man. Like,
so the point of the assertion. Keep it real. The point of the assertion that unicellular organisms are conscious because they interact with the environment around them, right, is for you to recognize that that is a false claim, right, which would then logically lead you to the conclusion that information that a fetus can engage in the environment around it prior to 20 weeks is not sufficient for qualifying it as conscious.
But because you are conflating unicellular and
because you're saying that information that a unicellular organism can engage in its environment is not sufficient to say that the unicellular organism is conscious. So why is the information that a fetus engages in its environment around them sufficient to qualify it as conscious? If it's not sufficient for the unicellular organism, why is it sufficient for the fetus?
because the fetus has a brain, man.
Okay. So now you're saying brain plus engagement in the environment around it. Really?
I mean, I thought that's like obvious. Human beings have brains, do they not?
Okay. So what if I told you that like there's no study done in the last 35 years that demonstrate the capabilities of a fetus's brain prior to 20 through 24 weeks, right? Have the ability to deploy first person subjective experiences because the thymocortical connections have not been made with the prefrontal cortex.
And I've already conceded, and I will read that study. I've already conceded that point, and I will read your study. I've said this like 5 times, bro.
All right, great. So then your point doesn't stand. Perfect.
Well, I mean, you can say that, but you know.
Wait, are you Greg?
Greg?
You're fucking Greg. What are you doing on my live, Greg?
My name is Matt, dude.
No, Greg. What are you doing on my live?
What are you talking about, bro?
You know exactly what I come on, Greg.
Dude,
what the fuck are you doing here?
Gray, you can go to my TikTok channel. You're like delusional right now, bro.
No. What the fuck?
Go to my TikTok channel, man. I don't know what you're talking about. My name is Matt.
For those that are curious, Greg is a really fucking annoying pro-life debater that's been on here forever. He's just like super bad faith. He hosts like small lives. He either got a hold of like his friend's account or like
that's hilarious. Well, I would say that you're displaying signs of delusionment. So I'm not Greg, bro.
Wait, I'm not a Trump supporter, so. I'm not displaying signs of delusion.
Okay, but you're calling me somebody that I'm not. You're subjectively thinking that I'm some person named Greg, and I'm clearly not. You can go to my TikTok channel, and that can be proven. So,
okay,
you're making a false assertion again.
Okay, so just one. Okay, fine, whatever. We'll just call you Matthew.
That's my name.
So because I've provided you with evidence that consciousness can emerge until 20 weeks, and you've not provided me with any evidence that it can emerge prior. Should we grant more empirical weight to my claims other than yours because of the preponderance of evidence for mine and the lack of evidence for yours?
I don't think so, because I think, when it comes down to the truth of the matter, I think that evidence clearly presents itself throughout the timeline. I don't think that it's concrete set in stone. Would you agree with that?
I mean, no, I wouldn't agree with that because I don't think that evidence clearly presents itself for your hypothesis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You don't think that evidence doesn't present itself throughout time?
No, I don't.
Okay, so when I was a kid in our space science, and we were only learning that Jupiter had like 30 moons, when in reality it has much, much more. So
maybe I'm misinterpreting your claims.
You don't think evidence reveals itself throughout time? That's just a ridiculous claim.
Thank you so much for the boxing gloves. Maybe I'm misinterpreting your claims. So, the interpretation of the claims that of the claim that you're making right now is that you're saying that evidence reveals itself through the timeline of a pregnancy to promote the theory that a fetus is sentient prior to 20.
And the more studies that we have on these sorts of things, the more evidence that will be revealed throughout time. Yes, that's.
Oh, okay. I see your claim now. Yeah, I agree. So you're saying that there's no evidence that exists currently to suggest that sentience can emerge prior to 20 weeks? And it just will in the future? Because I mean, if you have read up on your history of neurobiology and the exploration of human consciousness, we actually first in the 60s held to the idea that consciousness can emerge at 8 weeks because of your claim about the presence of alpha and beta brainwaves, right? But then in the 70s we started to have studies go more into the 10 to 16 weeks. In the 80s it was more 16 to 18, and that was a strong consensus until the 90s. But then into the early 2000s, the consensus then shifted to about 18 through 20 through 24 weeks, right, due to the thymocortical connections in the prefrontal cortex, which is now the current explanation. So, I mean, you just have no justification for your point. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about before I move on to my next guest that is more intelligent than you are?
More intelligent than me. Wow.
Yes.
You're very disrespectful. I will say that. I think that we can find common ground to where exceptions can be made. And I think these exceptions can be made within the first trimester. I don't believe that going on to the second trimester is necessary unless the mother's health is at risk. And in the third trimester,
we know how you think and feel, but we're here to discuss facts.
Okay. Well, I mean, these are pretty much facts. And I think that anything in the third trimester should not be relevant at all because the baby can be born viable.
So the reason that it's not a fact, like you've made, like what hasn't been a fact is your assertion about sentience prior to 20 weeks.
I'm sorry.
Prove me wrong by what's not a fact is your assertion that sentience can emerge prior to 20 weeks. Feel free to prove me wrong.
Okay, and that's fine. But we all have our own subjective opinions too. So
okay, well, yeah. Once again, just back to the anti-intellectualism. I'm here to talk about facts.
It's not anti-intellectualism because when you're talking about the prior studies, those prior studies were based off of evidence of 12 to 18 weeks, or 12 to 16 weeks. Excuse me.
Can you give me one of those studies?
I'm on my phone, bro.
Exactly. You didn't even know that those studies fucking existed before I told you about them.
Are you serious?
That's why I call you an anti-intellectualist.
Okay, because I only went to school for psychology, but whatever. I'm sure that I've referenced them in papers in my studies.
So then give me one.
I'm on my phone. I don't have them sitting here in front of me like you do. Sir.
Why don't you go on pause and get it from Google, then read off the name?
I'm sorry?
You could literally go on pause on the TikTok app, go to Google and find one.
Okay, well, why don't you, since you have all the facts there, why don't you bring up one of the older studies that have evidence of their claim?
I'm not going to do your homework for you, man.
Again, okay, so me neither. So we can come to agreement on that.
Okay, so you're just going to say, okay, well, hey, Matthew, the reason I'm not voting for Trump is because last night he raped a little girl.
That he did or that I did?
No, that Trump did. That's why that's why we all shouldn't vote for him. He's he's a child rapist. He raped a child last night.
Okay, well, that's another false assertion. So.
No, it's true, bro.
Is it?
Yeah, it's true. There's evidence.
Okay, yeah,
you look it up.
Yeah, okay, I will, but I can't because there's no evidence to be had.
Wait, so are you saying that people shouldn't believe me unless there's evidence to suggest what I'm saying is true?
I'm saying that you can't believe it. You cannot find evidence of a falsehood, and you've been giving me.
I just want to clarify.
Your entire argument here.
I just want to clarify your principled position.
And then you've been straw manning me and turning it around, saying that it's to disprove what I'm saying.
I just want to clarify your principled position. Are you making the assertion?
You're the one that's coming out with misinformation.
I just want to clarify your principled assertion. Are you saying that you, as well as other people, shouldn't believe me when I say that Trump is a child rapist?
Why?
I don't have any evidence.
Why would you promote misinformation like that if you're all about seeking the truth?
It's funny how you say that I'm straw manning and then you straw man. Is your principled conclusion, right? Nothing more than the fact that you, as well as other people, should not believe that Trump is a child rapist when I say that Trump is a child rapist due to my lack of evidence.
Why would you make a false claim?
Okay, Matthew, if you don't respond to this question, I'm going to kick you.
I am responding to this question. Why would you, in good faith, make a false claim?
Yeah, and that's not an answer to my question. I'm going to go ahead and give you 3 strikes on the board. Is your principled conclusion that people should not, because we're demonstrated in conceptually relevant point. There's an answer to your question. So is your assertion now nothing more than the fact that you, as well as other people, should not believe me when I say that Trump raped a child last night due to the fact that I have a lack of evidence for my position?
I'm pretty sure if Trump raped a little girl last night...
That's not an answer to my question. Please answer my question.
We would have heard about it, bro.
Okay, I'm not. So I'm going to re-ask you the question one last time.
That we would have heard of.
There's 2 strikes. So are you saying that people should not believe my claim that Trump is a child rapist due to the lack of evidence for my assertion? Is that a yes or a no?
I'm not going to answer that at a yes or no, dude. You're making falsehoods. You're making falsehoods, man.
All right,
then you can making falsehoods this entire argument.
Yeah,
so I don't understand why, if you are doing this in good faith, why you would continuously.
If you're not going to answer that question, you can leave. Bye.
Oh, you can kick me if you'd like. I'm not running away from you, kid.
All right, have a good one, man. We're going to move on to our next guest here for the 4.1 thousand people hanging out with us in here today, guys. Make sure that we're double tapping away on that phone screen. So, yeah, that's just like another example of like how like crazy easy it is to dunk on like these Trump supporters. That was beautiful. That was so fucking beautiful. That was great. What like a great like lesson that I just taught all of you guys. What's up, Amelia? Are you voting for Trump?
Fuck no.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm just looking to talk to Trump supporters. I do appreciate you for coming up. That was crazy. I mean, that's just like how they are, man. That's just how they are. Like, I mean, like you could just like condense the Trump supporters down into such a fucking corner. They always feel embarrassed and they always feel very unsettled. And I mean, like that's the importance, right, of these conversations, right? And then like when they engage in bad faith, like the last guest did, right? That just gives us all the more reason to have these conversations, so at least other people can see that. We're gonna move on to our next guest here, y'all. Let's go and get Austin. But that was very embarrassing for Greg. Very embarrassing. Hey, everyone. All right, let's go and get our next guest up in here. All right, and if you do want to support me, my Venmo as well as my PayPal are in my bio, y'all. So everyone, just do give us a minute. Hey, what's up, Delta? Are you voting for Trump?
Yeah.
All right, why is that?
Because I think he's better in foreign policy.
And why is that?
There was no new wars. Yeah, you can say the British, but that started a long time
Well,
ago.
I'm interested in his actual policy, though. Like, not like just like claims about his presidency compared to other ones. Tell me about his policy.
His policy proposals, or what he did do in his first term?
What he did do, or what the policy proposals are / were. Roke, I appreciate
Yeah, foreign policy, he did really well. He reauthorized the North Korean Human Rights Act, had Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act, Nicaraguan Human Rights and Anti-Corruption Act, Asian Reassurance Pacific Act.
Okay, what did the Human Rights Act with North Korea achieve?
I'm not sure. I can't really think about it off the top of my head.
It didn't achieve anything.
It was a reauthorization.
So that was a part of a denuclearization agreement in which he verbally agreed to, but then he continued to do nuclear testing and did not denuclearize. So, like, I mean, I would say that, like, if Trump legitimately got them to denuclearize, that would have been a good, right, instance of foreign policy. But because that goal wasn't achieved, right, we can't really attribute much rather than a PR shoot for propaganda for the North Korean government. And then, like, additionally here, the reason I'd say he's not better at foreign policy than Harris is that he's a warmonger, like, an insane psychopath. Meanwhile, she's actually focused on cooperative long-term agreements. Like, for instance, he wants to dishonor the Budapest Memorandum and stop helping Ukraine that will allow for more Russian advancement. There's like a 2-in-1, not only breaking contractual agreements that will make us look less trustworthy on the global stage for further denuclearization agreements with foreign adversaries like Iran, Iraq, and North Korea, but also like just saying that you want more Russian expansion. Like, that's probably why Putin said in leaked crippling documents that he thinks Trump is easy to manipulate. Not supporting NATO is like another one, especially right now. I mean, they've annexed Georgia, Crimea, and are now like fighting against Ukraine. So to say that NATO serves no purpose today but has in the past is craziness. He wants to give Gaza to Israel. He told Israel not to accept a ceasefire agreement and told Israel to invade, attack, and flatten Iran, and said that he'd even do it himself if he was elected. So just advocating for more war, less peace in the Middle East. I don't know why that's good for foreign policy.
Yeah, so why did Russia not invade Ukraine then under his term?
Great question. I'd say that, like, no one has the answer to that question. We could assume hypotheses, but then I just don't know how you differentiate between your hypothesis and mine, right? My hypothesis could be the simple fact that they didn't have the means to invade Ukraine under his term and really wanted Trump to get reelected. That's why they interfered with the 2020 election, so the invasion would be easier, right? And then still had the means under Biden and Harris, so they chose to. And like, you could assert another baseless hypothesis, like they were scared of him and they were intimidated by Trump. But regardless of that, at the end of the day, I have no evidence to support my hypothesis. You have no evidence to support your hypothesis, except for like
I do actually.
Emotions.
So him sending Javelin missiles to Ukraine, still sending them lethal weapons, and him threatening Russia, putting sanctions on them, is not a deterrent.
It's less of a deterrent in comparison to what the Biden-Harris administration has done for Ukraine and will do moving forward. Like,
we were still sending them weapons and money and more missiles than the Biden administration was.
So, I mean, if we compare the stance on Ukraine as it stands given Russian invasion, all right, his stance would be weaker and serve as a less of a deterrent compared to Biden and Harris's. I mean, how many times have you heard him speak out against funding more money and weapons to Ukraine in the context of Russia's invasion? Like, I mean, like, that's the entirety and totality of the GOP platform.
Like, speaking against the funding currently?
Yeah. So, I mean, you could reference like cooperative agreements that we had with Ukraine prior to Russia's invasion. That's fine. But overall, right, his stance serves as less of a deterrent, right? I mean, like, this was even made more abundantly clear at the debate with Harris when he said that he never answered the question if he wants Ukraine to win the war and that, like, some Russian advancement may be necessary. Like,
He
what's
did answer the question.
platform? What was his answer?
He did answer it by saying he wants the war to end. He doesn't want anyone to win because there is no winner in war.
Yeah, I'd say that there is. Right?
There's not.
Yeah, I'd say that the winner, right, if Ukraine were to win the war, this would just mean that no Russian advancement would be achieved.
And how do you suppose Ukraine is going to win the war? Yeah, Ukraine's not going to win the war if we don't authorize them to actually use our weapons.
So, like, once again, Ukraine winning the war just means, like, no Russian advancement. And you never answered that question. You just said that he wants a war to end.
They have advanced. They've taken 33% of the land in Ukraine.
Right. And like the current platform from the Democrat Party is that they should take that land back, and they shouldn't allow like sufficient time for Russia to reload and come back to fighting. Meanwhile, the current position from the Republican platform is not. So I have a question. What position stands in more opposition against Russia? You know, it's the Democrat platform position.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll concede that. Harris's position is more anti-Russia.
Right. And then your like hypothesis hinged on them being less anti-Russia. So you've contradicted yourself.
Not really. Again, they weren't invading Ukraine in 2017 through 2021. We were giving them deterrence, and now, they have no plan to stop the war. They just want to give them weapons. They're not actually authorizing them to use them to push back into Russia.
Yeah, they're not authorizing.
They're saying don't use them in Russia.
Yeah, which I think I agree with.
Why? Because that land that is illegally occupied by Russia is their land now.
Wait, I have a question.
Just like Crimea. Crimea is annexed.
Wait, after the annexation of Crimea with the land that's been occupied by Russia since the start of the war, does the U.S. recognize that as Russian territory?
Pretty sure, yeah.
Okay, give me a source.
Sure. What am I looking for? If Crimea is recognized as a Russian...
not Crimea. No, because that was annexed in 2014. I'm pretty sure they do. All right, I'm talking about the land that has been taken by Russia in Ukraine, given Russia's invasion in like 2021.
I said Crimea, not the land in Ukraine proper.
Oh, so like the land in Ukraine that has been taken by Russia after their invasion in 2021, that's not legally recognized as Russian land or territory by the U.S.
I didn't say it was.
So when they don't authorize the use of our weapons in Russian territory, they are authorizing the use of our weapons in the territory that has already been taken by Russia, when you're just trying to make the point that that was false.
We have given them the authorization to defend their land with our weapons.
Yeah, which will include the land that has already been taken by Russia.
And they did when they invaded Kursk.
Yeah, they did invade into Russia, right? Not sanctioned by the U.S. government. What we're